Okay, welcome everyone. What wonderful weather we're having for October, right? So hope you all enjoyed the last weekend of great weather. It's going to be peak leaf season soon. I think the Adirondacks, I've heard, are already in peak, so it's coming. Anyways, welcome to our village board meeting for October 11th, 2022. Thank you all for coming. I'd like to lead off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So those who've looked at the agenda, you'll probably see a little bit of change in our agenda going forward. We've revamped the agenda to be really focused on resolutions, which are voting offerings that we have to do, but also just to keep in front of all of us and in front of you, all the projects that the village board is working on and our municipality is moving forward on. There may not be presentations on every one of those topics, but it gives a chance for the board to ask questions so that we don't forget, keeps it in front of us, gives a chance for you to ask questions if you have a concern about something or a project that may be coming up as well. So it looks like a long agenda, but I think we're going to get through it pretty efficiently. And consider it work in progress for right now, because this is our first attempt at doing that. So just a couple updates, because always business never fails. The wheels on the bus keep moving. Since our last meeting, we've appointed a new wastewater trainee, Colby Hessliner. Is that correct spelled?
Yes.
I met Colby today. It was nice to meet him. The committee interviewed him and hired him, and he started today until October 11th, and his current salary rate is $20 an hour. So we're welcoming Colby to our wastewater treatment plant. And we've also appointed Thomas Mueller,
yes.
Right? Mueller, I'm handwritten, sorry. Thomas Mueller as our water trainee to the water department. I also met Thomas today, the first time. He's happy to be here, excited to go to work with us, and he started actually on the 3rd at $20 an hour as well. And the last thing we needed to do, we needed to rescind the approval for the use of the village hall for Cinder Claws. When we met with the Cinder Claws committee and everybody's involved with safety and process for doing Cinder Claws, this upstairs had been used for crowns and branches, was it? Thank you. Crowns and branches, but last year it was also used for the toy theater. This year, because of the scope and the size of what we're doing, we're really converting Village Hall, this room, into the command center for the Cinder Claws event. It's a big undertaking. There's a lot of people involved, and we've grown out of using the conference room over in our police building in terms of trying to do this and get everybody together. So this will now be the command center for Cinder Claws. So we're rescinding the approval, which is fine. They've agreed. They had agreed at the meeting, but then there was a mix-up in paperwork. So all is good. There's no bad feelings by anybody. So that'll go on. So thank you. All right.
Gary, do you want to mention the changes to the agenda?
The what?
The changes to the agenda that we made?
You started. You did. I did.
Oh, we did? Oh. No, not the changes to the general agenda, but the one from posted on Friday versus the one we're doing today.
Oh. So, yes. All right. So there are a couple changes to the agenda. One is we had the Mulberry Street project on the agenda. We're not ready for that. Plans were moving, but not moving as fast as we thought or as well as we want. So the Mulberry Street agenda has been moved from the resolution section down to current projects. And I think Lydia will we'll have a small discussion about that in terms of the Mulberry Street. I think that's the only one we changed, correct?
Yep.
There was also another grant added under the grant section, the DEC compost grant.
Right. There was some confusion.
Yeah.
In our office in terms of who, what, where, when. So we added another grant. So we'll talk to that. Okay. Public comment. Elner, come on up.
Although I'm on the civic engagement,
Eleanor, make sure the mic is on, please. Switch is on the backside. Flip it up. A little up, higher, no, higher. There you go.
now,
Push it all the way to the up position. There you
I
go.
think. Is it on? Okay. Although I'm on the Civic Engagement and Community Values Subcommittee, the Land Use Subcommittee, as well as on the Comprehensive Plan Committee, I'm speaking only for myself. I'm commenting on the request to expand the CPC. In May, the CECV Subcommittee proposed that subcommittee meetings be open to the public and take on new members, provided they follow the village application process and meet the criteria set out for approval. Lydia spoke out against the proposal, stating that adding members at this stage, keep in mind this happened in May, could be disruptive and would slow down our work. The chair weighed in against it also, and support evaporated, and the only one left standing was myself. It appears that this rule applies to some, but we happily bend the rules for special interests. In my opinion, it is not true that the business community has been underheard. In fact, the sidewalk dining was implemented without input from the CPC. It appears that a major development, but I guess that has changed, on 6 Mulberry Street will be approved today, so I'll have to take that back. In fact, if you check out the profiles of CPC members, you see planner and designer, attorney, landscaper, restaurant owner, real estate agent, to name a few. Let's get the facts on the table and see exactly how many business owners already sit on the CPC. In fact, the Population and Business Ecosystem Subcommittee has at least 5 business owners or operators on it. The business community and the farmers market are the only groups invited to a special meeting with a subcommittee. No other group has been similarly recognized by any subcommittee. In fact, the apartment complex where I live is listed at taxable at $16.5 million. If Rhinebeck is to be converted into an oligarchy, this property shoots right up to the top of the list of whom should be awarded the seat. Question: where's the data that supports the contention that this group of business owners funds the village? How does their contribution compare to rental properties or other businesses, or even private homeowners? Perhaps it's the renters who should get an extra seat on the CPC, since we indirectly pay the landlord's taxes. We just need the data. Since I assume the request that at least 1 seat for non-resident business owner operator will be approved, I make the following suggestion. As part of the outreach for our open mic sessions, I contacted 35 businesses in this community, and only 5 of them agreed to prominently display the flyer in their storefront window. Do they care about us, the village? I suggest that if another person from the business community is to be placed on the CPC, it be one of the proprietors who actually supports the community, and I can give you a list of who they are. A sign in the window is not a big give back, yet the owners who shout the loudest could not even give that tiny nod to our work. Why should we give them a disproportionate share of seats at the table? And then finally, the bottom line is that business owners, I feel, are listened to and given every possible consideration. Now let the rest of us just get a word or two in edgewise. Thank you.
Thanks, Eleanor.
Anybody else for public comment? Suzanne, come on up.
Hi, I'm Susanna. I live in the village on Manor Road, and I have a procedural question, and I also have a question about the paving. The procedural question is, when there's a Monday holiday, when is yard waste get picked up? Because I always assumed it would be the day after the holiday, but it seems to not happen regularly after that. So I just want to know how that works, Rick.
At this time, the highway department is just going throughout the village, and so they'll prioritize a section of the village and do that, and then they'll move on to the next one. I don't know where in the rotation they are through the sections of the village, but they can't do the entire village in one day.
Right.
So,
Well, there's been other Monday holidays where it didn't get picked up, so I was just wondering what the procedure was on that.
the schedule changes, I don't know, I have to stop top of my head.
October 1st.
October 1st, from early
Right, but I'm saying
May.
in the summer too.
Right, but in the summer, we go to an alternate week pickup.
Right.
And so if there's a Monday, then it shuffles over. But because it's continuous, just it's a holiday.
So is it supposed to get picked up on the Tuesday after the Monday holiday, or are we supposed to wait till the next week? That's what I'm kind of curious about.
At this time, you can put out your lawn stuff at any time.
Right, but in the summertime, when it's the alternating weeks, if there's a Monday holiday, they don't always come and pick it up till like later, like way later in the week that week. Are we supposed to, is it supposed to skip a week, and are we supposed to wait till the next week if there's a
No,
Monday holiday?
no,
Okay,
no.
just put
No,
it out on the regular.
Okay, now I understand what you're saying, yes. Yeah,
Okay,
just go ahead,
that
yes.
was my question.
Gotcha, okay. I know, it's
It happened a
complicated
couple-
enough as it is.
Yeah, a couple times over the summer, I think the 4th was a Monday this year, and they didn't, I mean, I'm sure with the 4th there was other stuff, but it just seemed like there was a few times where Monday holidays kind of, they
And-
didn't come right away, and I just was curious what
Yeah,
the
I mean,
procedure was.
and also I have to say that, it does some, especially in the summertime, it can take a couple days to even pick up one half of the village. And the other part is, there may have been something else that was an emergency that they were responding to. I
Right.
don't have the, I don't know the dates or anything like that.
That's okay, I just, like I
so-
said, I just wasn't sure if I was supposed to wait till the
Nope.
next week, or if
Nope.
my
Nope.
the south side was supposed to wait till the next
Nope,
week?
nope,
Okay.
nope, carry on as.
And is there any news on the paving? I thought it was supposed to start sometime in
The
October.
last date I had was tomorrow,
That's what I thought.
but
Is that-
I haven't had any updates since then.
Okay, because I haven't seen any notice on
Right, so
in my area about it, so I was just curious.
I can only tell you the last date they gave me was tomorrow.
Yep, I knew
Yeah.
it was coming up, so
Yes.
I was just wondering because I hadn't heard anything. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, Donna Warner, village resident. This is just a clarification I wanted on correspondence. I know some years ago it used to be on the agenda, and then it was taken off, correspondence, although I thought it kept a list of what the correspondence was during the period, the month period. Could you just explain again how someone from the public can access correspondence or know that there is correspondence?
So good question. Martina, we're putting off, Martina?
Yeah, I'm writing.
Yeah, we're putting all correspondence up on the website, and we're announcing at our meeting, that,
Yes, so
Right.
if you write in for public comment, that gets posted up on the cloud for correspondence.
But what about, I just write a letter?
It depends on what your
If
letter
it's
is
not-
about and what that topic is.
Okay, look, I'm going to try. So you're referring to public comment where someone makes public comment and then submits?
Correct.
a
If
copy.
you just send me a letter-
I'm just talking about general correspondence.
If you just send me a letter addressed to the mayor about a concern of something random, that gets sent to the mayor and stored on file in the office.
So there's no way the public can simply say, where is there a list of correspondence the village board has received in the past month?
You can come into the office and foil for it.
But I wouldn't know that it exists.
It doesn't automatically get posted to the
That's all I'm
cloud.
saying. I think you've clarified, there is no such list where the public could just see what correspondence has been submitted.
Not automatically posted to the
Anywhere.
cloud,
Okay.
yes. The cloud deals with agenda-specific items.
Items, and that would be public comment specific.
Correct.
Okay. And it's posted when?
It's posted when I post everything to the cloud the Friday before the meeting, ideally. If I have it, once I get it, I post it.
Okay, and if something gets submitted after your meeting, like after tonight,
Then I'll go back and put it on there if it's relevant to the meeting.
in that meeting folder?
Correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
any other comment?
Just a question.
Yeah, Linda, come on up.
When I read the resolution that Eleanor responded to, and if you said this already, Eleanor, I'm sorry, I missed a couple minutes. Anyway, I was curious why you said that you might post or assign someone to a board, as opposed to, I understand the discussion was generally regarding the comprehensive plan, but in the write-up on the fourth whereas, it says "or board." I mean, could you post someone to a board of trustees, a planning board, a zoning board?
No. This resolution is specific to the comprehensive plan committee.
Right.
That's not a board though, so why is it in the resolution?
That's a typo,
Good. That's all I wanted to know.
as I'm now looking for it. we'll make sure that's fixed if this
Great,
particular
thank you.
resolution passes.
Appreciate it.
Yep, you're welcome.
Any other comment? There, come on up.
Hi, Sarah Miller. I'm not really prepared to speak, but I am, it's more of a gripe. It seems like things can change so fast and furiously. The meeting for the public session on October 3rd, it was changed the Friday before. I know there was a conflict, but we have conflicts too, and we have families and we have commitments, so I'm wondering if we could build some more time into things. Tonight, I hear you say the 6 Mulberry Street, which is my primary reason for being here, is somewhere else on the agenda, I believe, or it might even be in a different...
It's still on the agenda, but under a different topic.
I looked on my phone. Is it on the, has it been updated?
It's on the cloud.
So it's not on the agenda, the agenda has not been...
The agenda was updated and then posted to the cloud. So 6 Mulberry Street is still a topic on the agenda, just under a different item.
I know I am on my phone, but it appears to be under membership amendment. But it may be because I'm looking at my phone, it's not formatted for that, but...
Is that the link for the cloud, or is that what you were
I
emailing?
went on to the village website and pulled up the meeting on the agenda for tonight, just now.
Okay. That'll just need to be adjusted. But
Well, it's 20 after 6 now, so it's not going to do us.
Got it.
I think,
I'm just
Sarah, no, we
confused,
hear your comment, and it's frustrating for us too, and we're, I'm so sorry. I know there's a lot going on and things are moving quickly. I just
Yeah.
want to acknowledge your feedback.
Thank you, and I
Yeah.
actually want to acknowledge all the hard work you're doing as well. But I do feel like maybe if we could build some more time in or another process, it just seems like it's arbitrary. So thank you for listening.
And Sarah, that's one of the reasons we modified our agenda to going forward, so that we keep better track of things and keep them listed on there. For instance, pending projects may move to current projects, right, and then even may cause resolutions. So
Yeah.
we needed to be better focused on what we were doing, and that's the reason for the change in the agenda.
Great, thank you.
So that we can focus on these things.
Thank you.
And I want to second Vanessa. I fully appreciate that when things change with very short notice, it's frustrating for everyone. And I too am looking forward to a moment where that's not happening to any of us.
Comments? Any more? Thank you. All well taken. Okay, there's no presentations for tonight. If they would be listed. So this is just an hour so you know where that topic would reside. If there was a presentation, we would list what that presentation was. Next is the treasurer's report.
Okay. Treasurer's report is for the period ending September 30th. The general fund ended the month with $143,130.17. The water fund ended the month with $96,986.30. The sewer fund ended the month with $269,774.70. The tax collector's account ended the month with $1,443,568. Vouchers presented for payment in the general fund to include prepaids, total $106,872.18. In the water fund, $89,762.48. In the sewer fund, $22,404.89. We had in the water treatment plant upgrades grant project, we had bills totaling $12,960. In the wastewater treatment plant upgrade grant project, we had bills totaling $11,942.50, and we had some bills in escrow totaling $3,757.57. The Highway International Dump Truck with the plow has arrived, and we're waiting.
Oh, great.
And we're waiting for the paperwork for payment. So I'll report more on that as soon as we get the paperwork from them. The monthly operating statement is provided for revenue and expenditures through October 11th, tonight's meeting. The water and wastewater, the billing and adjustments, as signed off by Trustee Nuneker, are presented for authorization.
Could I get a motion approved to accept the adjustments as presented?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I have a few budget amendments. In the general fund, I have two budget amendments for the highway department, or for the Center Street, for the highway department, to increase that line item by $4,700. This is remaining funds that were allocated last year, but they rolled over to fund balance. So they were approved, but they rolled over to fund balance. I just need to put them in the current budget. Same thing with the trees, with the frost grant for the trees. The balance of the $13,400 is remaining from a grant from prior year. So both of those will come out of fund balance. I'm also in the planning and zoning training line item, $2,200 each from contingency for a total of $4,400. And this is for laserfish training for the planning and zoning department. In the water fund, again, the same Center Street project, increase of $32,300, and that would be from the water department fund balance.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the budget amendments as presented by the treasurer.
Second.
Okay,
All in favor, say aye.
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 okay, that's it for
Thank you,
now.
Karen.
Thanks.
Okay, resolutions. First one up. I'm going to turn the mic over to Trustee Lewitt.
Oh, okay. Make me read my own resolution.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I'll pull it up.
Do you want a hard copy?
Sure. So, just as a thing, I've been asked to solemnize a marriage, which I think is probably one of the most fun things I could possibly think about doing as a public official. So in order to do that, I have to be appointed a marriage officer of the Village of Rhinebeck. So that's what this resolution will do. Whereas, according to the Consolidated Laws of New York, Chapter 14, Domestic Relations, Article 3, Solemnization, Proof and Effect of Marriage, Section 11C, Marriage Officers, the governing body of any village, town, or city may appoint one or more marriage officers who shall have the authority to solemnize a marriage, which marriage shall be valid if performed in accordance with the other provisions of law. Whereas the number of such marriage officers appointed for a municipality shall be determined by the governing body of the municipality, and whereas marriage officers shall be 18 years of age or over, and they shall reside in the municipality by which they are appointed, and whereas a marriage officer shall have the authority to solemnize a marriage within the territory of the municipality which makes the appointment, and whereas Deputy Mayor Richard Lewitt has received a request to solemnize a marriage scheduled to take place within the Village of Rhinebeck, and whereas Deputy Mayor Richard Lewitt meets the qualifications to hold the position of marriage officer for the Village of Rhinebeck as enumerated by New York State law, therefore, be it resolved that the Village Board hereby appoints Deputy Mayor Lewitt as marriage officer for the Village of Rhinebeck for a period of October 11th, 2022, and ending June 30th, 2023. I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
Any questions?
How many marriage officers do we have?
Right now, it's only me,
Oh,
by
right, by default.
default. But you all could be appointed, if you would like to be,
Holy moly.
appointed as a marriage officer.
Noted.
Why did you have it expire?
It actually expires after it would naturally expire after 4 years, but I just figured that was just plenty of time. I didn't need it any more than that. And if somebody else comes forward and wants to get married sometime after June 30th, I'll be happy to write another resolution. And I'd say it's really, for me, it's an incredible honor to be able to do this as a public official. It's probably really the most fun and among the most exciting things we could possibly do. So I thank you for your support.
Having done several, it's really, truly wonderful. Either here in Village Hall or outside in a park or whatever, it's just a wonderful thing to do. So all in favor, say I do.
Aye.
I'll abstain on my own. I don't know, should I abstain on my own?
Motion carries.
Well, thank you all very much.
Congratulations.
I'll save you some cake.
Are you abstaining? You don't have to.
I don't have to, then I'll vote for myself, sure.
There you go.
Okay, next is Farmers and Market Amendment 3. Typically, the farmers market contract does not expire until April, but it's out of sequence or out of cycle with the farmers market and their agenda in terms of when they need to get, what do you call them? Vendors? Yeah, applications in and do their planning, which really aligns more towards the end of the year to be able to do this. So that was one of the primary changes, to align it with their cycle, to give them a chance to go out and make sure they have plans in place to operate. The second, probably the most important thing is, at one time it was a 5-year agreement. Back when we did Amendment 2 in 2019, we changed it to a 3-year agreement, right? And I don't remember why. There's no real sound reason. The farmer market's here, so there's a recommendation to change it back to 5 years. And then the third item is to give everybody a chance, because of the timing and everything that it takes, is really give everybody a chance to give a year's notice if we want to change. So if the farmer's market says we want to do whatever, and they want to change their space or change how they're positioning, they can do that, but they have to do that 12 months in advance. And the same applies to the village. If the village wants to make a change to how the farmer's market is, we also need to do that 12 months in advance. So these are modifications to, accepting the new terms and conditions for the farmer's market. Exhibit B is attached on the cloud, which shows the current space, which is notified as that's the premise of where they are and the space that they occupy, all right? And the rest is, as I discussed, it's really changing from 3 to 5 and changing the term in terms of notification. I'd like to thank the farmers market for being here and doing what they do and supporting agriculture and also bringing fresh product to the village of Rhinebeck and everybody else that visits the market on a Sunday afternoon. So I'd like to make a motion to accept the third amendment to the agreement between the Incorporated Village of Rhinebeck and the Rhinebeck Farmers Market.
Second.
Thank you. Questions?
I had one thought as you were saying this. What happens if we return to a COVID emergency and they need to expand again? Does that have to go through this agreement? Or how do we do that?
Good question, but
I mean, obviously we're able to do it.
we did it during a COVID.
not hope for that.
And I would believe that, under the state rules and regulations that you are all, there's farmer market people here. For those on camera who doesn't know, we have the farmers market president, Ken Migarelli here, and our manager, Andrea Bartolo, and some other members of the farmers market. But we all had to react to what happened in the pandemic. So I would hope, given the state regulations, we would adopt whatever the state regulations are as they did, and we would adjust accordingly.
Right. Just want to make sure we have that ability remains.
Right.
Yes, he can marry you. Yes. he
Yes,
can.
it's done. It's done. There are the newlyweds to be.
All right. All in favor of amending the third amendment, say aye.
Aye. I just wanted to make a quick comment. There's been a lot of jibber jabber about the work that the Comprehensive Plan Committee is doing in relation to the location of the farmers market. And I just want to state for the record and publicly that no decisions have been made. All of this is very much a conversation nothing is happening until something happens, in which case everybody will have plenty of advanced warning. And this keeps the farmer's market in its exact same spot for the next 5 years. So if anybody's concerned about rumors that were flying all over the village for the past few months, I just wanted to clarify that nothing is happening. There's conversations, but conversations are good. And conversations bring forth unique and interesting and different ideas. So, no decisions are made without lots of public notice and a lot of time.
Andrea and Ken, would you like to say anything? You're good. Well done.
Great.
Thank you for what you do.
It's a great resource.
Thank you for all the products that you bring to the market. Yeah, well done. Okay, we're going to move on. Dutchess County Wastewater Authority transfer. This is a project that started, how many years ago? 4 years ago?
3 or 4 years ago, yeah.
4 or maybe over 4 years ago. So we're finally bringing it to resolution. I'm going to turn it over to Trustee Nunaker.
So we started to do an analysis to see if Dutchess County Water and Wastewater Authority would take over the operations of our water department and our sewer department. And in that study, the Delaware Engineering has created an engineering report for both water and wastewater. We took that to Dutchess County Water and Wastewater Authority, and then they had revisions, and then we've had 2 or 3 back and forths. In the process, it looks like we're probably not wanting to surrender control of our water and wastewater authority. So the mayor and I had a meeting with
County. And Dutchess County Wastewater Authority.
Yeah, county planning, Aaron Raptor, the commissioner, and Christy Bonomo, I don't know what her position is, but she was in attendance.
Yeah,
and we
she's
decided
part of the planning. She's part of the planning, and also
Yeah.
Bridget Barkley for Dutchess County Wastewater Authority.
Dutchess County Water, who's no longer with them, but.
No, she's still at part-time.
Is she really?
Yes, she's
Oh, okay.
still there.
Okay, I thought she.
No, not yet.
Okay, so it was decided that instead of them having to do this ponderous phase 3, which would be the part of the report where they say what they can do for us, that since we have a sense that we're not going to go through with this, why go through with the arduous task of doing that? And maybe we should just, instead of checking a box and having them do a phase 3, we can just write a letter saying that our plans have changed, show that we'd paid the entire engineering costs, and attach the engineering reports as amended to a letter and close out the grant. So I drafted a letter for the mayor to sign. For Ian Raptor, the commissioner of Dutchess County Planning, Mr. Raptor, I'll just read it, it's only a page and a half. In November 2019, the Village of Rhinebeck issued a request for proposal for professional engineering services for the purpose of completing a water and sewer system evaluation to provide technical and financial consulting services to evaluate the existing water and wastewater systems for a potential transfer of operations from the village to the Dutchess County Water and Wastewater Authority. The engineering study is to be funded entirely from a grant award from the Dutchess County Municipal Consolidation and Shared Services Grant Program, which we were awarded that grant. The request for proposal was awarded to Delaware Engineering Services from Albany, and pursuant to the RFP's mandates, by January 2021, 2 engineering reports were created. One report is a water system evaluation, and the other is a sewer system evaluation. During the process of getting feedback from DCWWA on draft contents of the 2 reports, the reports have been amended multiple times. The amended final reports approved by the village government are hereby sent to you via email. See also proof of payment for the total bid to amount to Delaware Engineering. The water system report evaluated, among other things, the water plant's facilities and processes for source water, water treatment and storage, and for its distribution facilities. The sewer system report evaluated the fitness of its treatment plant, collection system, and its effluent water treatment quality. The reports identified needed major capital upgrades for the water treatment plant and its distribution system, and the sewer system and its collection system. The water report suggested that the village pursue funding opportunities, quote, to implement the recommended improvements identified herein. Water Infrastructure Improvement Act, WIA grants base eligibility on water quality compliance and provides the best funding opportunity for the village. Similarly, the sewer system report concluded, quote, because of this pending upgrade project, the village should start the process of listing the need on the New York State intended use plan and apply for a Water Infrastructure Improvement Act grant. To that end, with Delaware Engineering, the village government has successfully pursued both recommended avenues. The New York State EFC is awarded, it's the Environmental Facilities Corporation, has awarded the village a grant of $3 million for necessary water system upgrades. And after being listed as a project on the intended use plan, the EFC is awarded 0% financing for any sewer system improvements. The village has also applied for a WIA grant for sewer system improvements and is awaiting a decision by the EFC. The operational goals of the village government have therefore evolved regarding both water and sewer system treatment systems. We need to be stewards of both extensive capital improvement projects and are comfortable with our operations of both facilities. The village government is currently immersed in both prospective projects, and it believes it would be best at this point that the village continue to conduct operations for both facilities. Moreover, the village has met with praise from Delaware Engineering for how both facilities are currently operated. We, the village government, therefore conclude and have memorialized by separate resolution that it is not our wish to transfer water and sewer operations to the Dutchess County Water and Wastewater Authority. If you have any questions about this matter, please contact me to discuss. Very truly yours, Gary Bassett. So let's memorialize that letter.
Well, let's make a motion.
Oh.
Is that your motion?
Yeah, the motion is that we would resolve a resolution that I did not write to approve that letter.
Second? You gonna second it?
Oh, sure, I'll second that, yeah.
Okay.
Question, I don't remember us ever having a conversation about whether, like, I mean, this might have been before my time, but was there ever a conversation about, instead of pursuing the grants on our own and upgrading everything, was there ever like a board level conversation about whether we should keep them or turn them over?
No, the board level conversation was about whether we would accept those engineering reports. Remember I gave you the two binder books?
Yeah, okay, so this was when I was reading, okay, yeah.
So no, not really. So that's this kind of thing we need to.
Okay,
So that's specifically why we were called to the county. I mean, two things. One, we need to close out this grant,
right,
one way or the other. And by memorializing this letter, it does two things. One, it's meant to close out the contract, which we still are in receivership of needing $28,000 from that grant.
got it.
So that's been sitting out there. And the county would like to transfer that $28,000 to us and get it off the table. This also bypasses, as Trustee Nooner mentioned, that process of going through a transfer study that says, what do you need to do the transfer for these facilities to Dutchess County wastewater, and having a public comment on that whole transfer process, and then voting on whether you do that. So this now
Got it.
is to bring all of that to closure. We're doing a leapfrog ahead.
Okay.
Because it's been over 4 years. The county is in agreement, Dutchess County Wastewater Authority is in agreement,
Okay.
and as a result of our meeting with them, that the intentions of doing this.
That we're the best people to run these two districts.
What we're bypassing is getting public input,
Right,
which was part of the grant agreement, and getting that transfer study being done, which
Okay.
was part of the contract agreement.
They're not eager to do it, and they don't believe it's going to happen. And
okay, so they don't want our two departments, and we don't want to give them our two
Well, Oh,
departments.
they agree that, I'm going to say they don't want. I'm not saying they don't want.
yeah, I wouldn't go that far.
I wouldn't go that far. They would love to take over our operations,
Oh, okay.
right? The question is, do we, the board,
Want them to do
or
that.
the public, do we want to transfer that to Dutchess County Wastewater Authority to let them run? They've done several. They've done Tivoli, right?
Did
They've
it at
done,
Hyde Park or something?
they've done a wastewater treatment plant for the town. They've done many of these operations within
Right,
Dutchess County.
right,
They came to us a little over 4 years and said, how would you like to do a study?
got it.
They worked to get the grant. They got the grant. We didn't get the grant. They got the grant. They were holding it. They now want to transfer it to us. They want to close it out one way or the other.
Yeah, I get that. But, all right, so, but what I'm trying to figure out is, I don't know the benefits or I don't know the pros and the cons of keeping them versus giving them to Dutchess County Wastewater Authority. Like, what I'm telling you is that I don't have enough information to make this decision one way or the other.
And that's the part we're skipping over.
Yeah.
That goes through that discussion.
Okay, so I'm basically being asked to trust that you and Trustee Muniker
Staff in particular.
and staff
Engineering.
think that, like,
Art.
we can do this for less money than they can do this, and we can continue to staff these two departments, and all of the things that we've been having problems with.
And Gary, I don't think that they're eager to, they're not, and Karen has some experience with this, not eager to, sorry to put you on the spot, to take on serious capital upgrades before they get started.
Yeah, and we didn't ask them about that, but I don't know what their eagerness is, but they've agreed that we can move forward given this
They're really good
memorialization of trying to close out the contract.
They're good at taking over troubled
We would
systems.
still be responsible for the capital projects.
Yeah.
That was kind of the big, that
Oh,
was the big.
okay, because I
That's
was
a big
like, we're
piece
about to
of it.
spend a lot of money, and if someone else could do that, that would be great.
That's why I said we're immersed in this. It's,
Yeah,
Well, Lydia, just to be clear, if we would have done this in a different time, before we got the grants,
yeah.
they would have taken that Delaware engineering report and exercised that and gone and got the capital grants and to do it.
And then they would have charged the district users.
And then they would have handled that, and they would have been ownership of it.
Okay, so,
The cart's already,
But we've already,
so the horse has already left the barn,
because we
basically.
went out and got the grant.
Got it. Okay.
I guess I'm gonna just follow up on Lydia's question here, which is, you said that in these discussions, it became the sense that it was better for us to retain these systems. And can you just break down a little bit what the advantages of us retaining the systems are?
there is a certain administrative fee when they run operations. There's less benefits for the employees. They tend to be good at taking over troubled systems. It's like this was both plants very well run and like not really in need of assistance. Our administrative costs are extremely low. If you look at our administrative line from the budget, which is the portion of our stuff that's attributable to
Right.
water and sewer, public works, and
Karen, Chrissy,
and
yeah.
Martina, I would even go up against the private sector as far as is what we had, what our
But
administration.
excuse me, Rick, one second. You're asking the same question that would have been surfaced if we would have gone through that next
Yeah.
process.
No, I understand that, but what you're saying, but what you said, or what you just said was that it was your feeling that even if we went through this process, we would not want to take over, we would not want to have
That's the
that.
recommendation here, is that.
Right, and I'm
you
just
know,
asking, what are the tendencies that you saw? And maybe one of them is if it
I
ain't broke,
didn't-
don't fix it, right? Is that?
That's it, and also they sat on a lot of things for a lot of months. And there was not a great chemistry. But
Okay.
that's from my end.
So just out of curiosity, when they do take over a system, what happens? They take over the district, they do all of the billing and administrative and blah, 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 and hiring and firing and,
100%, yes.
And they pass it through. If their budget shows up on the county budget, but it's a pass-through from users that replenish that.
Great.
So it's sort of like this quasi-thing entity.
It's a good
and
joint.
would our district continue to run separately from all the other districts that they administer? Or would, if our district is running, say, a
Not
surplus?
administratively, no.
Okay, got it.
Well, now wait, time out. So the billing and the cost are retained within that municipality. They don't take the cost of all the districts and say,
Amount.
you're not responsible. They look at each district independently and say, this is your cost, this is your cost, and this is their cost.
Okay.
But
Right.
administratively, they take
Right.
they take a portion.
So what you're saying is we would get all the cost and none of the control if we turned it over to them.
Yeah,
We'd be out.
we relinquish
Or
control.
control.
Yeah.
We would have,
No control, and the cost is what it is.
we would have 3 people on this board, which might be the best out, no, I'm kidding.
And
Josh
again, you're
Frost.
asking, good. I think these are all great questions because we're asking you, the board, to move ahead.
Yeah, and sort of like stop the process and move on and just move on with the fact that we will continue to run these two districts and call it a day.
We're going to make that decision, and they're in agreement. The county and Dutchess County Wastewater Authority is in agreement with that.
So they're in agreement, the two of you are in agreement, Kyle and Brian are in agreement?
Absolutely.
Well, I
Okay.
don't know if they've been consulted. I haven't consulted with any of them.
No, I just know.
So Brian, so Brant's asked the Bryans. Okay.
And this wouldn't, if in 10 years there's some material change, this would not preclude
This from,
this potentially happening
Right.
again. At this time,
Yeah.
we feel like we can do a better job than the county, keeping it here in-house.
I do, yeah. That's my
I
opinion.
think we do a great job. Better is a term I don't know, because I don't know what they would do, whether they could do better or worse
Yeah, I
than
don't want to
us.
disparage.
Yeah, but
we're doing good enough.
we're
and-
saying that we're doing a great job at running our water treatment plant and our wastewater treatment plant.
Right.
That makes it, why change?
Right.
That's the bottom line. Why change now when we're having a good, effective control over managing the system?
Okay.
So, yeah, it's, for
we-
you,
we-
Lydia, it's a small leap of faith.
But we are bypassing the public comment section of this whole thing, which
Yeah.
is part of it, and we're asking to say that we're going to bypass that step
Okay.
on getting public input.
Okay.
Okay.
And so, but at no point did anybody do like a rate analysis, like what our costs are versus.
That would have been the next,
That would have been
Next
the next
step,
step.
yeah.
in terms of what they would foresee and what we would foresee.
They do.
But I mean, the same number of upgrades still have to happen no matter who's running this operation.
I mean, there's another big, excuse me, Lydia, I'm sorry. to interrupt.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, when we took out the contract 4 years ago, you get a 10-year working plan. We got an engineering report of the current study, so that's another component that we're not getting is that 10-year capital investment plan. But we're saying we got an effective engineering report from Delaware Engineering that is allowing us to make those changes that we can foresee.
It had the 10.
And we did the water rate study by Ty and Bond, right, which looked at these and said, based over the projection over time, here's where we are in terms of operation, because that's an important component.
Yeah.
Don't forget that water rate study that said, we're good now, but, costs are still going to increase in the out years in
Right.
terms of our rates. So let's not hide it from anybody that, rates could go up, in a 5 to 7 year period, depending on our investment cycle here.
Right.
And costs.
I
Right.
think it's safe to say, though, that we're going to treat the communications and the decisions that we make about our community and our customers probably with more care and consideration than an outside.
I'm not going to answer that question, but yeah, I think we do a damn good job, yes. How's that?
Okay.
Well, and if, someone has a concern with the water department, they come to us right now, whereas if this happened, they would then go to this Dutchess County Authority, get blah, blah, blah. Got it.
Right.
Okay.
Dutchess County Wastewater Authority is not a function of Dutchess County government.
No, it's an independent
It's a separate
authority.
entity.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a quasi-governmental, yeah.
Quasi-government.
Yeah. It's like the
They
Turnpike
took over, for
Authority.
another one, just to mention, they took over the Hyde
Hyde
Park
Park.
plant.
Yeah.
And they totally run the Hyde Park plant. I deal with them on a lot, on the other issues a lot. There's no, just to be clear, Dutchess County Wastewater Authority is running that plant. And they're running it and making investment and doing,
Yeah, and it's fine, and it's
Good job.
working, and,
They're good
yeah.
at taking troubled systems over.
Right, yeah, Tivoli was really troubled. Yeah, okay.
okay,
Okay, I'm good,
good
thanks.
discussion.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Hi.
So carried.
Thank you.
Nice, 28 grand.
Okay. Sale of mulch and compost. I'm going to turn this one over to you, Vanessa. Is
All
that
right.
okay?
Yes. Okay. So a discussion came about because as part of the village compost pilot, we bought some finished compost to be able to give that back to pilot participants, and we have an excess of that finished product. And so while we were at it, we took a look at the costs, the price that we set for the mulch that we sell here in the village. As you all know, we collect yard waste and then that's ground into mulch and then it's for sale. So we wanted to update the, both the price of mulch and this compost, excess compost that we have on hand. So I'll just read the resolution. Whereas the Village of Rhinebeck gathers yard waste to produce and sell mulch, and there have been increases in fuel charges and labor expenses to produce this product, and whereas participants in the 2022 Village Compost Pilot signed up with the understanding that finished compost would be available to participants on collector compost days, of which we've had several. Trustee Bertozzi, myself, bought finished compost from UCRA as part of the pilot budget, and pilot participants have been notified prior to this last collector compost event that would be the final such event. And now therefore be it resolved that the village board authorizes the sale of bulk mulch and finished compost to any customer for the price of $40 a yard. And be it also resolved that the village board authorizes the village highway department to make deliveries for free to any village customer, a $50 delivery fee within the town of Rhinebeck, and a $60 delivery fee for outside the village or town. And be it also resolved that deliveries outside the town of Rhinebeck shall not exceed a maximum distance of 25 miles one way. And be it also resolved that commercial client pickup is allowed at the rate of $40 a yard with a $150 loading fee. And be it also resolved that should there still remain excess compost from the pilot after the end of October, that the highway department may use this remainder of compost on village landscaping projects, such as, for example, building a riparian area along the Landsman Kill at the highway department property where flooding occurs. So make a motion to accept this resolution.
Second.
Discussion.
I think this is great. And I think like plowing the compost into the mulch stuff makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, we want to keep the pricing consistent just to minimize any confusion that we have two products, mulch and compost. But this is a rate increase, price increased. I don't know the last time the mulch sale
We discussed that, I don't remember.
was. So, I mean,
Sands of time.
it was
Maybe
a
it's
really,
time.
it was a really good bargain. It's still a good price for bulk mulch. But yeah, we did want to raise the prices to take into account rising costs.
And we also use that, the highway department also uses the mulch currently when we plant trees and do other
Right.
projects around. So
Yeah.
we also use it within the village.
Yes.
Right.
This is great.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So carried. Lydia, I'm going to turn this next one over to you. This is amending the authorization of the Village of Rhinebeck Comprehensive Plan Committee.
Yes, so on Friday, we received a letter signed by, I don't even know, signatures. Over 30, somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 signatures. 60 signatures from our business community requesting that the comprehensive plan committee include a member of the business community. I drafted up the resolution that amends the comprehensive plan committee resolution that would allow for one member of the comprehensive plan committee to be not a resident of the village, but instead just a resident of Dutchess County. And I tried to have it be a resident of the town, but that's illegal. So resident of Dutchess County, as long as that one person is either the manager or the owner of a business with a storefront facing, that has frontage on 308 or 9. I can read the resolution. Or the resolution, okay. Whereas on October 26th, the Village of Rhinebeck Board adopted resolution 102-62021-02, which among other things recognize the importance of comprehensive planning for the welfare of the village and its residents, committed the village to consider updates to its comprehensive plan that was adopted in 1993, and created the Village of Rhinebeck Comprehensive Plan Committee pursuant to New York State Village Law, Section 7-722, to consider issues surrounding the village's land use and related policies and propose such updates. And whereas Resolution 1026-2021-02 specified that the membership of the committee must only include village residents, and whereas on October 7th, 2022, the village board received a letter from the village business community, predominantly those with stores or restaurants that are fronted on East Market Street, West Market Street, Mill Street, and Montgomery Street within a block of the main intersection, asking for representation on the committee due to their desire to have a voice in the decisions that will directly affect their livelihoods. And the village board would like to act on that request to facilitate the committee's inclusion of members with sufficiently diverse skills, backgrounds, and perspective to effectively review the village's land use policies and propose productive updates to the comprehensive plan. And whereas pursuant to Village Law 3-302, the village board may allow for certain appointed members of boards or commissions to have residency in the county in which the village is situated. Now therefore be it resolved, the village board of the Village of Rhinebeck does hereby amend Resolution 1026-2021-02 to allow for one resident of Dutchess County to participate on the committee as long as that resident owns or manages a business with frontage in the village center, and in particular to add a decretal paragraph after the first that reads, be it further resolved that the village board of the Village of Rhinebeck does hereby authorize one member of the Comprehensive Plan Committee to be a resident of Dutchess County as long as that resident owns or manages a business with frontage in the village center. And I'd like to make a motion to accept this resolution.
Second. Discussion.
Just while we're talking about it, Eleanor, I just want to address Eleanor's comment. I don't feel strongly about this, to be honest, one way or the other. The Comprehensive Plan Committee, we just actually lost a member this morning. Tim Decker resigned. Currently allows for residents of the village, renters are included in that. Sitting on the comprehensive plan, we have two people who own businesses in the village, Elijah Bender and Jeff Cotter. Elijah does own Foster's, owns and runs Foster's, which does sort of qualify for a restaurant in the village center. There's a good candidate for this if we do choose to go ahead with it, in the form of John Traver, who's the manager of Samuel's and has been a long time, he was born and raised in the town. And has been part of Samuel's for a long time. He's a current member of the Business Ecosystem Subcommittee, and he's come to basically every single Comprehensive Plan Committee meeting, which is more than I can say for some of the other members of the actual committee. But this is a little up to us. The business community is a community that has just as much stake in land use planning in this village as the residents. And I fully appreciate their frustration that they feel like they weren't included in the main comprehensive plan committee. Even though, all sorts of people are involved in the subcommittee work, the main deliberations and the main recommendations are going to be coming out of the now 11 members of the actual committee. So you all read the letter from the business committee, and we have the resolution in front of us.
We would have 12 people on this?
Yeah, so we had 13. We lost one, so we've been working with 12 for about 2 months, 1 month, I don't remember. Time has no meaning. I think she resigned in early August. So we've been working with 12. We just lost another, so we're now down to 11. Yes, having an even number of people, especially as the Comprehensive Plan Committee is heading into actual recommendation time. time where there might be close votes that need to, have the ability to have a tiebreaker, I think is important. So, when this came up, it was going to bring us up to 13, and then we had someone resign this morning, so now we're down to 11, and we bring us up to 12.
Would we look for 13th to get to that odd number?
We could. Ideally, I would very much like to have it be someone who's been engaged in the process since the beginning in some form
Is there
or another.
somebody else who's a shining star on one of the subcommittees?
Yeah, there's a few. There's certainly a few. So, I mean,
We can appoint, so there's an absence, so we can, if somebody comes forward, as in this recommendation, we can bring it to a board vote, because you have to be appointed by the board.
when I asked, I had a conversation with the chair when we lost our 13th person about a month and a half ago, or 2 months ago, about whether we wanted to replace, and he was like, 13 is a lot of people to manage.
It is.
And so 11 is, or less than 13 is frankly a better number. What we could do is pass this resolution and just not appoint anyone tonight and sort of see what else happens. Or we could just, or we could pass the resolution and appoint John. I mean, I know I'm supposed to have a firm opinion on this, but honestly, I don't.
We have to vote. To what degree is the person who's proposed responsible for being the voice of the business community, and what's their feedback? These guys have gotten together, they've signed a letter, but is this person going to be reporting back to them? Do we know? Is this just turned into one business owner doing his thing, or do they have an actual group that's functioning?
From what I understand, there's a bit of like an ad hoc group where they've all been, they're all in the same text chat. Like,
That seems to be the culture with them, is that they're pretty fair about being in it with each other.
Yeah, I think COVID taught them that a rising tide raises all ships, and so they're all working together pretty carefully now. They certainly did that as part of the outdoor dining stuff.
I'd like to make comments. So when we started the conversation with the comprehensive plan, it started out with a focus and an agenda, and it's really grown in its comprehensiveness.
It's no longer just an
what it's
update.
covering on the village, and I recognize that this growth in what many of the village residents have participated in whether it's
it's been
the
great.
meetings, or the forums that we've had, and the community input has been really fantastic. But the working committee, that committee is really, they are a working committee, and they're a body that is supposed to take input from the subcommittees, deal with it, go back and forth, and figure out what is the recommendation and narrow that down to whatever that is. So even though there's a member that says they're on the business community, they still have to participate at large with the whole committee and are part of that whole discussion of what are the values that we, the village, want to be able to be seen. Right? So.
And in some respects, they are speaking for themselves, but they're also, once we get especially the values data back from the survey, they're going to be speaking on behalf of the values survey.
So I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and I think, granted, 13 people is a lot, but it's not, from what I've seen in the meetings that I've participated in so far, it's not unmanageable for them to be able to do. And in fact, I believe that the work is going to be done, needs a fair amount of people to be able to do that work, right? So it is what it is. I think we need to figure out if we want, the issue is, do we want somebody outside of the village to be a participant of this master committee? And that's really the change that we're asking for.
This person is very much going to be speaking as a as a business person on the committee and not as a resident of the village. That being said, our businesses are a huge part of what makes the village the village.
So
Eleanor's had her hand up for a while.
you've already got a business ecosystem subcommittee?
Yep.
All right, so that's a big voice.
And they're participating in that discussion.
Yeah, so, and you have a merchant. I didn't think about that. We have a restaurant merchant already.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's essential to have the business community represented, but I just think they're almost well represented already.
Well, and that's what I was trying to do when we pulled together the initial group of people by having, Jeff
Yeah.
owns a small business, Elijah has a restaurant in addition to a not quite so small business.
I like 11.
But
I like
we
11.
didn't enroll Elijah as a restaurant business person.
No,
We enrolled him as a village resident to
Right.
be able to participate.
As that's how we also enrolled Jeff, but every member of that committee was picked because they, had a different perspective than every other member of that committee. We tried to make that committee as diverse as possible.
One sec. You've got the business ecosystem
Subcommittee, yeah, but
And to what degree, I mean, we may get one report out of them and then another from this person.
That's actually, the Comprehensive Plan Committee is having a meeting on Thursday, come. There is conversations, we're having something on Wednesday and then something on Thursday.
Okay.
The conversations that's happening right now is the subcommittees are developing all of the underlying data, say housing stock, the business ecosystem, they're measuring the sidewalks in the downtown area and figuring out how many businesses are ADA accessible and, all sorts of things, right? So all of the subcommittees are gathering existing data and they're coming up with ideas on what to do with that data. They may be coming up with recommendations, but they're going to be instructed as part of the next step of the process that ideas flow up to the Comprehensive Plan Committee, and they may be ideas in a specific order of strongly agree to strongly disagree, but all ideas flow up to the Comprehensive Plan Committee, and then it's the Comprehensive Plan Committee's job to figure out what are the recommendations to be making to go into the final report. What are the values of the community, and therefore what are the recommendations that we're making in response to the values of the community. And so it's very much each individual person brings a unique perspective, but they also have this overarching mandate of, you must respond to the values of the community, not to your individual goal. And
Could we ask Eleanor? I mean,
yeah, Eleanor's been wanting to say something.
I just want to say that one of the reasons that maybe, like you said, it's grown beyond what you thought it would, is that there are just an amazing bunch of people that live in this village. I mean, I have met incredible people.
Yeah.
And they have just done incredible things, and they've
Yep.
taken it beyond anything that I imagined.
Yeah.
But I think this is a great thing. And honestly, the stuff that's happening is at the subcommittees. It really is. Because that's where the people who have one kind of, they've got one focus and they get together. The CPC,
Yeah, but it's going to be,
you and me, we don't get a lot done because there's too many of us. The best meeting we had was when almost everybody was absent because they were
this is on film. This is being filmed.
in discussion.
yeah.
Whereas these other committees are where people are focused because they're really passionate about the environment, or they're
Right.
passionate about historical preservation, or
Right. Yeah.
passionate about something. So
Right.
those people really, that's where the action's at. So
And that's going to, that has been the case up till now, and that's going to begin to shift as the subcommittees start making their presentations to the main committee, and then the main committee takes on the role of actually going through the recommendations and what they want to do. So we are at a point in the committee's process where the action is going to be moving from, it's still is a lot happening at the subcommittee level, but it's going to be moving from the subcommittee level into the main committee.
I don't.
Just want to, Eleanor, we owe a lot of gratitude to
Yeah.
people like yourself and others
Amen.
who have participated in all these discussions, on every idea, every thought,
Yeah.
and tried to put that all together into data that is being used.
Yeah.
So thank you to everybody who is really working hard
Yeah.
on this process.
Over 70 people between the main committee and the subcommittees.
It's an incredible thing and a lot to take in, as you
remarkable.
mentioned, but we also are still moving forward in a very comprehensive way.
Ba-dum-ching.
And, excuse me, and it's going to take time. This working committee has a lot on their plate.
Yeah.
The main committee has a lot to do, and there's going to be involvement, and I'm sure feedback back and forth between the subcommittees and going on as they work through this process. That's how I envision it anyways. I don't know, if the chair envisions it that way, but we should have that discussion to make sure. But I believe that there's a lot of time to be taken yet, a lot of work to be done, and I'm in no rush to get this done by tomorrow.
No.
I know for the Transportation Subcommittee, our chair is also on the
Main committee.
on the main committee, and that's true for every, and so they will be there to advocate for the findings of their committee.
Yeah, I mean, we still, this was going to be part of the conversation about the actual comprehensive plan, but we can have it now. I mean, what's going to start happening is that subcommittees are pulling together their data, they're pulling together their reports, they're pulling together all the ideas that they've generated. The main survey is about to go out. Once we have the results of that main survey, we'll be able to match the two up, all of the work that's been done with the values of the community. And then what we imagine will probably happen is, the committee itself will devote either a full meeting or a half meeting to each one of the subcommittees to have the subcommittees make a presentation. And then the main committee is going to start wrestling with what recommendations they actually want to make. I've been super clear that I'm delighted and I'm thrilled and I'm honored and I'm in awe of the 70 people who are working on the subcommittees, but, only now 11 of them were appointed by us to be making the recommendations to the board. And so we need to be very careful that the recommendations are coming out of the group of people that we actually appointed and not the group of people who've been really doing, an extraordinary amount of work but weren't appointed by the board. Otherwise, we run afoul of all sorts of comprehensive plan laws. So it's a bit of a dance at the moment between the subcommittees and the main committee, but, the authority of the work of the comprehensive plan lies with the main committee. And I think that is what the business community is aware of. We can go back to them and say, hey, you've got one, his name is Elijah Bender.
Well, that's my question is
Right.
if he's representing a restaurant right in the main business district, why can't they?
Right, lean on him.
Yeah. And it looks like what they're looking for is representation, and that, in my mind, that's what
Right.
his role was.
And I like 11. I really do like 11.
Well, we started out at 11 and then we bumped it up to 13. And, we're now back to 11 sort of just by, chance.
I mean, it can get unwieldy.
Well, 7 can get unwieldy. As we all know, 5 can sometimes be unwieldy, but.
7 is good.
So,
But there's also value add in the person that is recommended and wants to do this job as a longtime community member.
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
So it's not a personality. It's not like whether we like somebody or don't like somebody. We have them there on the committee, and they're all inputting. But now there's an aspect to get another voice and on this committee as well. And
I don't sense
I
there's
think the
this.
recommendation is sound to have that person, and we get to that, be a voice for our community that's been involved for a long time.
I don't see the sense from the old master plan and zoning code this promoting the business stuff and in the commercial. I mean, there's not this raging anti-commerce sentiment and I don't know if they even had anyone that was a merchant outside of the village on their committee. I just don't see the neutrality goes all over. It comes from other folks too. I mean, a lot of us have been business people. Probably tons of people on the committee have been business. I mean, you mentioned Jeff Cotter and.
Yeah,
I feel like this is kind of setting up an ad hoc subcommittee in a way, where you have, if this person is going to be representing the voices of these people here, effectively they become the chair of a subcommittee of business interests, who then have a chair, have a voice on the final board.
I mean, right now that subcommittee is being chaired by John Clark, actually, which is, and from the main committee, Elijah and Jeff both sit on that subcommittee.
Yeah, not everybody on the master committee is the chair of a subcommittee.
Yeah, no, because there's only 6 subcommittees, so.
Right.
Right.
So
Yeah.
just,
But all subcommittee chairs are on the.
all subcommittee chairs are, but there's additional
Correct.
Right.
I understand.
other people involved in the process that are not on the subcommittees.
Right.
I would agree with your analogy if everybody was only a subcommittee chair.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist.
But following what Rick said is, there's a lot of folks on there that are just trying to consider all interests. Like, that's how I would be if I were on it. In other words, I wouldn't have this resident
I mean, yeah.
anti-commerce point of view. I would be.
Well, right, and that's the goal with, that's the goal with a good committee member, is to have them not only represent their own personal view, but also the views of the community at large.
Right. But this person is like a.
Right, this person would land on the committee sort of from his role as a business person.
I don't know if anyone was selected quite for that reason.
No, nobody was. I mean, we tried to do as diverse a group as possible, and so, we picked business people and non-business people, and,
Can we make them a non-voting member? Can we say this person is going to be an advisor to the?
like the Washington DC senator.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, it gets the input. I mean, I'm struggling with this. I see pros and cons, but I'm wondering if the question is getting the input from the business community. Do they, for Goodwood 11, do they have to get a vote? But if they have kind of an observer status.
But that's sort of like an Uber subcommittee member.
It's like, why not just flow through the subcommittee?
Yeah,
I know.
I mean,
Right, yeah.
that subcommittee, as Eleanor mentioned, that subcommittee is doing a very good job of capturing business concerns.
Yeah, I think, and I hate to
And
say it.
if they're not, if all the signatures on that letter means that they're not doing a good job of capturing the business opinions of business leaders in the community, then maybe that's the problem.
Right. Well, and all of this is going to come to a public hearing, multiple public hearings.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, even the master group is just an advisory.
Right, they're only giving us a recommendation, they're not giving us a final product that we have to adopt.
I don't know, I think as having a voice is a good voice, right? And if we point the right person to have a voice on the committee that represents the values of the village of Rhinebeck, I think it's still an important voice to have. And
He's the right guy, and he's also on the subcommittee, so.
and they're recommending, and a recommendation, and I spoke to John Traver today about it. John is interested in doing this. He feels he has constructive values as not only being a business person, but also being involved with the community for many, many years. So.
Well, let's wrap it up. Can we?
Yeah. That's where I'm at.
We'll never
Yep.
get out of here.
All right. We have a motion, we have a second.
Sorry.
Do we want, Liddy, do you want to make your motion to include the appointment or just to add I'm not sure what your.
I think we need to, I think we need to amend the resolution first, and then if we choose to amend the resolution, then we can appoint John. But if we choose not to amend the resolution, then we don't need to appoint anyone.
Yeah, that's a good point.
All right, so all in favor of amending the authorization for the Village Rhinebeck Comprehensive Plan Committee to include a new member from the business community, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Hey, it was a close call. I'm not
Very.
speaking for Vanessa.
I mean, I don't,
No, I think John's wonderful.
Yeah, well, yeah,
But I
it's-
think he's doing a great job at the subcommittee level, and
Yeah,
that's
he's great.
what, this is
All right,
how
let's-
it was intended to be
All right,
run.
we voted. Do you want to make another motion?
So I make a motion to appoint John Traver to the Comprehensive Plan Committee.
second.
Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Abstain or oppose?
Opposed.
Opposed?
Or abstain, you can abstain.
Well,
Why?
I mean,
you have to
abstain unless
abstain.
like you're, I
can.
don't know, conflicted or something.
I mean, I guess I'm an aye, if we're going to have.
If we're gonna have
add
this
somebody, I
person.
think John's wonderful. There,
I'll
I'll
stay
have it
with,
both ways.
I'll say nay.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
important conversation, thank you. All right, now we're going to get into more of a conversational. We'll hopefully try to keep these conversations, as current and moving on as possible, but it's a chance for everybody, especially the board members, to ask discussion. So, Brant, anything that we need to take into account for the water plant upgrade?
When I asked Robert Flores from Delaware Engineering for an upgrade a few weeks ago, currently we are working on building the base drawings, he says, floor plans, existing conditions, et cetera, and requesting equipment info from treatment manufacturers, receiving quotes for survey, and will survey the water treatment plant by the end of October. Once we receive the info from manufacturer, we'll review with Brian and you, and we'll include Kyle and whoever, to select the preferred equipment, which will then progress the design and the necessary modifications. So I'm told by a separate communication that we could have the drawings for November's meeting, so that's pretty exciting.
Great.
So will that set
Preliminary drawings.
our cost? Or,
Well-
because right now, we're on this line where we approve $6 million.
Yeah, right.
As a resolution and to bond for, but I don't know where, and we got a
Yeah.
$3 million grant, but are we going to be spending $5 million, $5.5 million, $6 million? And I think, are we, even though we approved the bond, we're committed to the bond, right?
No.
No? All right. So we can lower our bond down if the quote comes in.
We can borrow less than
We can borrow less, yes.
than the village board authorized.
Good. All right.
So,
So that's
yes,
a really the question that I want to
Partially.
get to is where are we going to be in terms of setting that?
partially, yeah. So we'll find out some redundant things from those drawings, but we're also, a big piece of that is when we take those to the county Board of Health and get feedback from them, then all of a sudden, or in the DEC, then we find out some of the things that they want, some of the features, or I don't know what the term is, but some of the requirements that they're going to have. We'll also tailor that process.
So
So it's a two-pronged thing.
estimate, we're like
Oh, we were.
months away?
Yeah, I was told we were 18 months away from going out to bid on this.
Right. So
About
that's kind of the input I wanted to make.
was that 4 or 5 months ago, right? Right, Karen? Yeah. So you're not going to want an update from me all the time on this.
We're just going to keep it here in case something comes up. So everybody.
Okay, next month, hopefully I'll have some
Yeah.
drawings.
So the next one is the MuniLink water and wastewater billing system, which our treasurer Karen has been working on diligently. And it's really a process in terms of automating our billing structure. So
It really is. Thank you. The MuniLink, in the MuniLink system, the accounts are transferred, the general ledger accounts are set up. Chrissy and I
Karen, you
are-
want to maybe grab the mic just to make sure it's feeding into the.
Okay, I am very excited about the MuniLink program, which is our new water and sewer billing software. And the accounts are transferred, the GL accounts are set up. Chrissy and I are reviewing the data prior to the final transfer. And that's been like a lot of work, but we're able to go in and kind of fix things before we do the final transfer. So so it's time well spent. The water and sewer charges will be on the same bill moving forward for quarterly billing. We will be changing from staggered billing zones like we're doing now to just quarterly billing. The quarterly billing will just be January, February, March, billed out in April, and just on a regular quarterly cycle. This is going to eliminate, or this is going to consolidate the monthly billing cycles. I'm working with Vanessa on a notice to the residents, so that will be going out the beginning of November. In addition to that, we're working with Invoice Cloud on being able to accept online payments and different options for people to pay. They've also offered to take on our building planning and zoning fees, so I've sent them that, and I need to work with those departments on how we're going to set that up. But it's progressing well. It's a lot of work, but it's moving forward.
And there's going to be a flyer go out?
At the beginning of November, yes.
Yes.
Do I owe you an email on that? I feel like I owe you an email on that.
Any questions about?
So for the online payments, where, are those going to be on the department pages currently? There's a button that says pay your bill online. It'll be the same kind of button there,
Right.
but it will go to a different flow?
Correct. You won't be paying your bill through the online service that we're using now. It will be Invoice Cloud, but it's better, you'll be able to do recurring bills and then have them be like the actual amount of the bill instead of, I can only do $54 every 3 months. So Invoice Cloud is going to help kind of market it and help us get the word out to the residents, so.
All right. Yeah, I'm offering if you want any help, like looking at how that usability works on the website. I'd be happy to
Absolutely.
help.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Brandy, Brandy here from Ty and Bond. You know, we have two projects, the village sidewalk, which is the CDBG and the MIG grant, and then if also give us an update on Center Street.
Sure. Do you want me to, I had C, E, and F, and,
What?
Yeah.
do you want all of them lumped together?
No, well, the village, the CDBG and MIG are
Yeah.
one project, yes.
Yes, so for the record, Brandy Nelson, Ty and Bond. And so, yes, the village was successful in receiving a community development block grant as well as a municipal innovation grant. Both are administered through Dutchess County Planning, and they've allowed us to combine the two grants together because the projects, which would be handicap accessibility improvements to Village Hall, that's the one covered under the MIG grant, as well as some sidewalk improvements in front of Village Hall and along the municipal parking lot frontage on East Market Street, as well as 88 curb ramps at the intersection of Center Street and East Market Street. So the adjacency and similar type of work, the county was agreeable to us combining those. So right now, the base map survey is being prepared. And in a couple of days, you'll see one of the surveyors out again on East Market Street collecting some additional data. And from there, we'll prepare plans. And our goal is to have plans to you guys by the end of the calendar year so that we can do a winter bid and a spring construction.
Great.
Any questions?
While she's standing there, can we do Soho Water?
Well, which next is, I'd like to go into, thought we had Center Street. We'll bring you up under pending, sorry. Soho Water. And I'm not sure who's to talk about that, whether
She
it's
can
Brand
talk
or
about it.
you.
I was going to, but she can.
Okay.
Do you want me to? You okay with that? Okay. So Soho Water, just to refresh everyone's memory, is the improvements of village water main infrastructure so that there's a better service of water that would go to the Soho House project, which was formerly known as the Grasmere project. So this is actually, this is good for the village in terms of getting some infrastructure upgrades. along Route 9 and Huntington and Knollwood and a tiny bit of Asher, right?
Yeah.
So we've been going back and forth with the developers, consultants, working with Brant and Brian, and the developer took our comments and their proposed plans for improvements, sent them in like sketch form over to the county to get the county's comments. The county sent them back and said, give us a complete application, the full engineer's report, the application form, et cetera. So the developer's consultant contacted me last week and asked if we had any additional comments. We did have a few additional comments from Brant and Brian that we've incorporated into a letter provided to the Soho House consultant. He and I have a conference call scheduled for tomorrow to review those. Then they intend to finalize the plans, get them submitted back to the county.
So the thing from our end is that the Exhibit B is going to be the drawings, so if we miss anything, then it's going to be a change order later. I mean, it's going to be something we're going to have to pay for. So the idea is for us to get all the drawings correct, and then that's going to be the Exhibit B to our agreement also.
So the plan was to do that this fall.
Yeah, the developer had originally anticipated doing the construction work this fall. They have moved more slowly than I think we anticipated. I don't see any way that they'll get that in. And we had already discussed that we did not want them digging up village streets and patching them with gravel through the winter, so we were going to cut off the ability to do any work by November 1. There's just not enough time to do the improvements. So we will get a new schedule and we'll share that out with you next month. But I think that's probably likely a spring project as well.
Questions? Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Oh,
Center Street?
Center Street.
Oh, no, we'll get to it, if you don't mind, because I got tree plant, sorry, I jumped ahead and I shouldn't have. Rick?
Oh, okay.
Okay, so at the last board meeting, we discussed the plan to remove and replant along Montgomery Street. We had a long discussion about the removal of the trees and why it's necessary and such, and we did vote to do that. We also, at that time, approved a bid from Dave's Tree Service for the removals. We now have a bid from Cotter Landscape Management for the planting of trees this fall. And basically, Martina sent out requests to Cotter Landscaping, the Carthoys, Save a Tree, and Malcarney Contracting, all of whom who do tree planting. We received one bid back from Cotter Landscape, and this is to install 16 trees in total. Basically, the village will be purchasing the trees. They will be delivered to the highway department. They'll be packed in mulch until they're ready to go. Cotter Landscape will be digging the holes, picking up the trees. The village is supplying cedar posts and some of the other little items that attach to the trees. And so Cotter will be installing them, mulching them, watering them, getting them set up for the winter.
These are like the big trees that the volunteers can't do.
Correct. These are what, in this term, this are called the B&Bs, which stand for balled and burlapped.
Right.
So these come with big root balls.
Yeah.
And they're really quite difficult to muscle around.
Yeah.
I've done it. So I would like to make a motion to accept the estimate from Cotter Landscape Management for a total of $5,444 for the installation of 16 trees and under the conditions that I outlined before.
Second. Any questions?
Not on that. It's amazing.
Thanks, Martina,
We only have one bid, so.
for trying to get more than one bid.
Yeah. I think, I can say, I know from the contractors' issues, we have to integrate with the state and the DOT, and sometimes I think they're like, ugh, basta. So it was very good of Cotter Management to come through in that way.
But we tried to get more.
We
right?
did try to get more, absolutely.
Because that's the important part.
Yes,
Yeah.
You know, you have to make good faith effort that you've really reached out
yes,
to try to get other competitive bids.
yes, that we did.
But Rick, I just have a question. What is the status of the grant?
I guess I mean, we have been, this project is being funded, this project is being funded by a grant from the Frost Memorial Fund. They are due to make their awards soon.
Okay.
I mean, we have essentially a verbal handshake with them that they will be making this award. But yeah, they have not cut a check.
I just wanted to just find out when you anticipated.
Okay, I will check when I think they meet twice a year, once in the fall and once in the spring.
Catch them in the fall.
Yeah, we're on the agenda. We're on the agenda, and they've been terrific. all the
Yeah,
So the
time.
point is, we haven't received the money yet.
What?
The point is, we have not received the money.
Correct, I'm just,
Right, so we need to,
Right, we do have $13,000 left over
I
from
know,
that, yes.
right. but-
So,
Has Dave scheduled the removal yet?
we have to contact DigSafe, so Meg was out flagging, I think today, I'm going to call DigSafe.
Wow.
They have to go check the sites, and once we get it all clear, then Dave will schedule. It will probably be next week.
Okay, just the minute that you know, can you,
we need to,
I will put it out.
Great.
I can say that Meg Crawford, the chair of the committee, will be talking to all of the house, just alerting all the homeowners along the street, but we can certainly put something out along the way.
yeah,
And
I
thought
mean,
would
we
put
just, we told the village.
Right, and I was going to put the signs back out.
Yeah.
No, I still have the signs.
and he's grinding, just to make sure, he's grinding.
He's
the sign.
grinding them down, leaving them all.
Now, there's some trees here on East Market Street that have ribbons on them.
Yes, that is part of the grant. They were 2 that were not included, actually 3 that were not included.
In the spring.
1 is to be removed and 2 are to be pruned over here.
And that's going to happen at the same time?
Yeah, that's part of the same
That's
bid.
part of the same
Part of the
bid
same bid,
process?
correct.
Oh,
All right, because it was a little bit confusing to
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
So I thought it was just Montgomery Street, but now when I see these flagged here,
Right.
I was concerned.
You have, yeah, no, basically, we had a situation where one of the trees that we thought could make it and we didn't have removed in the spring died.
But did we vote on these trees?
Yes, you
We
did.
did.
Oh, Yes, you
We
did,
did.
yes, you did.
Talked about it.
Yes, you
Yeah,
did.
we just
All
didn't
right.
talk about them
I'll
as
take
much
your
as
word for
the
it.
other
Yeah,
ones.
we did.
Yeah.
I'll go review the tape. Yes, no, I was clear about that.
Okay.
Part of that.
I know Meg has been in touch about some sort of ceremony or some sort of thanking of the trees. Do you know if that's
I
progressed?
have not, no, I have not talked to her about that.
All right, we can figure that out.
I'll check in.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept Jeff Cotter's plan for $5,440 to plant
I need a second.
the bag and burlap trees.
I need a second.
I thought it was seconded. I thought I seconded it, but
Whatever. Brant?
Somebody.
I don't care who. All right, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, very good. All right, Lydia, we moved 6 Mulberry Street. Do you want to start a discussion?
So,
And
6 Mulberry Street, we promised the developers, well, we promised the community, we promised everyone, that we would have some kind of decision on what our next steps would be by the end of October. This is technically the end of October for us because we don't have another meeting scheduled. And so, I think we should schedule a special meeting on October 25th to handle a few things that we didn't get to tonight, but including this. And I'd just like to have a conversation amongst the 5 of us. We've heard from the community on last week about the proposal. I got the letter from Nan S., whose last name I don't want to destroy. That was super interesting. The tie-in bond planner report came through. We've gotten a follow-up letter from the owners of 6 Mulberry today. What do we want to do here? As I mentioned before, we should have some information, not some, we should have actually a lot of information out of the Comprehensive Plan Committee by the end of November in terms of the values survey. We should have all of the recommendations from the various committees, subcommittees, also, before the end of the year.
Let's bring it up.
Yeah, I mean, one idea is to, start seeker, so that process unfolds while the CPC process is continuing to unfold, and then we have all of the information, then we can make a decision. Another option is to not start seeker. I mean, that's sort of the choice that's in front of us now, I think.
But don't you have to do a seeker on a very specific thing? I mean, in other words, we don't have the zoning amendment.
We don't.
So-
I mean, what we could do is we could draft a different zoning amendment and do seeker on that.
You'd have to draft an amendment, something to
Right.
give the seeker some bounds to be able to work on.
Right. We could ask the developer to do full seeker on their proposal. We could do a proposal of our own that includes an affordability component. We could, take what they have and mess with it. We could do any number of things.
Or we could say, we're going to delay.
Right, exactly.
So, all right.
I don't know, I feel like we need to at least delay until the comprehensive plan preliminary recommendations come through. I don't feel comfortable right now, drafting a new zoning law and.
But I think that's why that's why we want to say, should we have another meeting to just put everything out on the table and have the public, so we have the discussion on all of these options going forward? Or do you want to do it tonight? We can do it tonight if you want.
I'm not ready.
Or to hear what other people.
Yeah, I'm not ready.
I have all sorts of stuff to say, but I would
Yeah.
rather do it in a
Yeah, I'm not ready for that.
In a
I think
situation
I'd like to
devoted
have
to-
another meeting,
Yeah.
agree, to
Yeah.
put all of this on the table and have that discussion. I mean, we got a lot of input, but there's still input I believe I still need to be able to think through this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to do more research on it too.
Sure.
So,
I think the 25th, scheduling a meeting for the 25th at which we can have an open discussion about all this. Is a good
Yeah,
idea.
amongst the five of us, right? Not another public or
We could
another.
have public comment,
we can have, the public would be
We can take
invited.
comment. Yeah, well, yeah, but not another public.
We're not
comment
taking
session.
public, this is for
Okay.
us to do a working discussion.
Okay.
And if it works out, maybe we can, but right now, the answer is
Yeah.
for us their job is to watch us do business.
Great. Let's do that business.
And since this is a big chunk, a big chunk that we
All
need
right,
to.
so, Lydia, you want to make a motion to have a meeting on the 25th, is that correct?
I make a motion to have a special meeting on October 25th
I second that.
What time?
at 6 PM.
Any discussion? So carried on the 25th.
oh, wait, aye.
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 All in favor, say aye. Sorry,
Yeah.
it's already too late. Okay,
Fire department is saying hello.
Yeah, all right.
I'm going to move on. Pending projects. Compost. Do you want to talk about the compost update?
Sure. I have a couple updates related to the village compost pilots. We did apply for 2 grants, which I think are listed later on the agenda. And these grants were a follow-up to a site design that Time Bond did for us. The idea is to create our own village compost facility at the highway garage property. We obviously need a lot of grant money to be able to pursue that. So that's where we are on that process. And the compost pilot continues. It's sort of in its last phase here. We're going through the end of the year.
When does it end? The end of December?
At the end of the year, yeah.
Okay.
And one other interesting note, we did have an informational meeting over at Southlands where they generate a lot of organic waste. This is a nonprofit horse farm. And they have a new executive director who's interested in possibly pursuing an anaerobic digester. And, just a brainstorming meeting to talk about that technology and could there be a possibility in the future of collaboration. So that's another option I have kind of in the back of my mind if we don't get grant money for our own site. Yeah.
Cool.
Is the town of Red Hook still moving forward on an aerobic digester as well?
Yeah, so at that meeting, we actually had a wonderful BARD student named Khadija, who she's a BARD student, and her research is all about anaerobic digesters. So she joined us for this meeting to share her research. BARD has actually, through, let's say, just say the stars aligning, they have a small anaerobic digester now on campus that they are feeding with their food scraps from their cafeterias. So I'm looking at that and the knowledge they gained from that pilot as kind of like a little test run of how an anaerobic digester works. The interesting thing about anaerobic digestion is that it can generate biofuel for vehicles, electricity, but it also generates liquid fertilizer that then you need to do something with it or sell it. So it has these multiple outputs, which is kind of interesting.
Just to put this in layman's terms, this is where the bugs get in and eat everything and turn it into. So
and
just,
anaerobic means
yeah.
no oxygen is introduced in this system versus the system we're proposing for the highway department, which is an aerated system. So anaerobic produces methane, methane gas.
Isn't that a huge problem?
Well, it's all relative, right?
Okay.
So if you burn that methane or convert that methane into biogas, it's still then, burned.
Right.
But you're not sourcing that methane through fossil fuel extraction. So it has a much lower carbon footprint than, say, just, using diesel fuel or
Right,
fracking.
yeah.
But, at the end of the day, you're still burning something.
Got it.
Whereas what I'm proposing for the highway department is just returning basically the chemical reaction is sequestering carbon in the finished compost.
Right.
So a different process.
So I think the anaerobic was developed for farms because they had a lot of manure and stuff like that. That was
This
giving
horse
enough gas,
farm,
and it allowed
literally
them.
every day they cart away a huge
Right.
tractor trailer's worth of manure.
And so it allows them
Many
to
horses
convert
do
that
that.
into methane and then use it for energy on the farm.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's my update.
Cool.
All right, so the next one, thank you. The next one is on our emergency antenna. I think I want to give a board an update because there's been work going on. Just to remind everybody, back at the budget cycle in March, we voted and approved to do an upgrade to our emergency antenna, which is up off of Burger Hill on the Sandy Williams property. There's a property up there that the fire department is currently using and has two poles that are tied together with an antenna on top of it and a wooden shed. It needs a lot of work. Needs upgraded and replaced, which is why we moved forward to not only improve it for the fire department, but to add the police repeaters onto the same tower to give us coverage within the village. So just to remind everybody of that. We met with the property owners, both Kyle, Amy, myself, and Sergeant Dunn, to go over what their requirements with their attorney, Sean Kemp, and to try to understand what their needs and everything else to get an easement that we had put on the calendar earlier for. So there is some changes to that they would like to have in terms of now they would like us to run a separate electric line, and we'd have to look into the feasibility of that. They want some landscaping and everything else around it, which is all great things that anybody should do if we did it anyways, but we need to factor that in.
Okay.
But in the meantime, as we discussed the last meeting, we now have space on our tower out here.
Oh, right, T-Mobile moved their
Because Sprint
Sprint. Sorry.
removed their old equipment, right, and now there's like 15 feet of space up there. So we contacted Nikon Co., which is the people we worked with before to give us a quote for the other ones, to say, what do we need to do to reallocate this to the tower? Is it more expensive, less expensive, better?
Is it tall enough?
They did the survey, and the coverage is more than suitable. Doesn't give us quite the same coverage that we had on that high point out on Burger Hill, but it's in the acceptable range that both fire and police have said this is good if we put it on our tower. right?
Oh,
So so the message is we're looking at both options, still studying both options.
That's fine. I do have some concerns that if we want to make an overture, be attracted to a third tenant that could possibly go on there. And that tower is really loaded when it does have a third carrier on there. And there is municipal frequencies that can interfere with.
So we're working with Crown Castle right now on getting
No, I
their.
understand that, but
Yeah, but to see what, there is interferences that can cause, as you mentioned, so we need to make sure that the spacing requirements and all that.
I would prefer
Initial things to be
if we
done.
can make the Sandy Williams.
Yeah, well, right now, we're looking at both, because we want to make sure we do the most cost-effective thing for the village as well
I want
as.
to, I don't want to take up a space from a prospect.
But either option would greatly improve our ability to use the radios within the village and in some of the town, as we would like to do, which we all know our current radio transmission is lacking.
Yeah.
If that facility up on the Sandy Williams property goes down, we don't have a plan to replace that right now. So both under discussion. I'll bring more as more comes in. Okay? Any questions? Brandy?
Yes.
Center Street.
Right, so at last month's meeting, we had presented some opinions of construction costs for the Center Street project, which included water main replacement from Livingston Street along Center Street to South Street, as well as upgrades to hydrants and valves and service connections, as well as drainage improvements beginning at the intersection of Center Street and Livingston Street, and then continuing down to the outfall at the Lansman Kill. And that's, just to refresh everybody's memory, the drainage would extend that far down because that is the sort of the main trunk of a section of the village's drainage system, and customarily you would start at the bottom of the drainage system and work your way up because it takes on more water as it gets to that outfall end. Just to recap the costs for that project as currently estimated. Again, the water system improvements, the drainage improvements. There's a bit of site work related to the roadway, which includes curbing along the roadway and some portions of both full depth replacement of the roadway surface where the trenches would be cut in, and also a mill and overlay on the remainder. So it's, paving, curbs, water main and drainage. The total estimated price for that was $1.74 million. And so the request we got from the board was to look at a couple of different alternative scenarios to bring those costs down, changing the scope of the project. So we broke out a couple of things here, and so I have some updated costs to share with you all tonight for modified scopes. The first option would be to do Center Street water main only for the section of Center Street extending just north of the intersection with East Market Street, under the intersection, so that's under the DOT intersection, and then down Center Street to South Street. So it's about 660 linear feet of water. The rationale there on taking it to the north side of Market Street is so that if you ever wanted to connect to it again, you wouldn't have to deal with the DOT. You'd already be past the DOT's right-of-way, and you could make upgrades continuing up to Livingston if you wanted to.
so the water main from there down,
Correct.
no drainage.
No drainage.
Okay.
With the exception of, we recommend there are 2 failed catch basins that should be reconstructed. You may well want to just pull those out and deal with them separately as a highway item, but there are 2 really bad basins here at the end of Center Street where it's near Montgomery Street. It would include a mill and overlay, not full depth replacement, and would not include curb. So it'd be just really kind of your most basic water project. Okay. With the mill and overlay, that estimate is $590,000. The second
Could I
alternative, oh, sure, go ahead.
What is general conditions? What is general conditions?
General conditions are things that the contractor needs to do to get to the site, to commence the project. So it generally covers things like bonds, insurance, mobilization, demobilization.
And we have to pay for that? They put that in their estimate?
They do.
Yeah, I got it.
It's hard for us to estimate that exactly, and so we take it
Yeah.
as a percent of construction costs. Did anyone else have any questions on that alternative before we move to the next one?
One of the issues with Center Street here, and is the Center Street include all the way to Livingston?
No.
So this would be Center Street to just north of the intersection with East Market.
So no, this does, so neither one of these proposals includes repaving Center Street north of,
The second one would. The second-
oh, okay, second
yeah.
does, okay.
So.
The first one does as well. The
Yeah, the first
1.7
one
million
does
does.
too.
Right, yeah, that one's out.
Well, you said none. We'll make sure that the
Right.
1.7 did include that.
Right.
So Rick, if you recall, part of the discussion we had
Oh, that's
last
right, it goes to
month,
203, right,
was
okay.
that Brant mentioned that there's not a true water main connection on that northern section of Center
Right.
Street between Livingston and East Market. There are very long service connections that come off of Livingston.
Right. Which we're not going to mess with.
Right now, we're saying as an alternative, you
We
could
could
just leave them alone.
It's up to us.
It's up to us.
Not
All right.
proceeding.
And I haven't checked,
They are part of the 1.7 million, but not part of
Correct, I
this
know,
one.
I get it.
Right, yeah.
I get it.
I still need to check with water to see if that'd be palatable, but.
So I'll move on to the second alternative. The second alternative, again, takes out the drainage in its entirety, also removes the curbing, which is an aid to the drainage. And so what remains is the full water main replacement. So Brand, if you're going to talk to Brian about this, this is the alternative to
Right.
replace the water main from the intersection of Center Street and Livingston, south through the intersection with East Market Street down to South Street. Again, similar replacement of services, hydrants, fittings, et cetera. Again, we've left in the 2 failed catch basins that need to be replaced. Those could potentially come out. And a portion of the road needs a full depth patch. There's quite a bit more. So we're recommending full depth patch and then mill and overlay on the remainder of the street. So it'd be the entire street from the intersection with Livingston, again, down to South Street, $810,000.
It's basically the drainage, the full drainage costs $900,000.
Correct.
No, wait, excuse me, I'm confused now. Because the project says no drainage and no curb,
Correct.
but yet there's a drainage improvement
Yeah,
line item here.
for the catch basins.
Yeah,
So
just.
that's
that
just
didn't
catch basins?
Yeah, those two
Okay.
catch basins.
And again, I just want to make sure I'm going apples to apples here. In, let's do this properly. No drainage, no curb, no water main north of East Market.
It's 590.
Right, 590, but the paving there, I'm trying to make sure we got the paving right. The paving is only East Market to south.
Correct.
However, in the other alternative as presented, that is paving from Livingston to south.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's more water main, it's more service connections, it's more
Okay.
hydrants.
And I assume if we didn't, I mean, we have to repave that stretch of Livingston. So we can, if we don't go after the water main, we're still going to have to repave that section of Livingston.
Yeah, I mean, so if we were gonna, are you
Of
asking
Livingston
like
or
if we mix
center?
and match
Center.
these costs?
Center, I'm sorry, center.
Yeah, mix and match.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's
That's what you're
that's what
thinking.
I was starting to
Is if
think
you
about.
go with the option 1,
With option-
350,000 for the base bid, which is the water main work, and another
203.
300 or
Right.
so for the roadway work, but instead go with the 350,000 for the water main work and do the larger paving project.
Right.
It adds
Right.
$50,000 to the larger paving project.
Is that just because they're mobilized? It's because it seems like you're getting quite a value by just
Yeah.
continuing to pave.
And
Since they're
that
there.
street is way
Yeah.
And that's
overdue.
really bad up there.
Yeah, no, that has to be paved,
Yeah.
one way or another.
Tell me again, other than it's good engineering, why we would replace the drainage?
So the drainage structures, as best we can tell, are in many cases well beyond their life. They are brick. They were probably built 70 or more years ago. They are connected to storm drain pipes that are very small diameter. You are
So they
fortunate in this neighborhood
overflow.
that you have fairly good infiltration rates, but they will, and they do from time to time, overflow. The other thing with Center Street that we've noticed is that the curbs have been paved against for many, many years, and those may be original slate curbs in some instances, and they are, for all intents and purposes, not functioning anymore, or have been overwhelmed by street trees or, any number of things. So they're not performing their duty to help direct drainage anymore to the drainage system, hence a lot of ponding on the roadway. And when you have water on the roadway, particularly in the winter when we get like a rain on snow or a melt, that causes a lot of freeze thaw in your road surface, which pops your pavement over time. So generally we try and get the water off the roadway into the pipe system, and then, but it is expensive.
So we paid to have you camera the drainage, right?
We have cameraed just the intersection drainage.
Oh, just the
and-
intersection drainage.
Yeah, so the way the village's drainage system is mapped, there are what are called blind connections, where you can't see where the drain connects into the main. And so we cameraed several of those to figure out how the catch basins actually connect to the main. In a more modern configuration, your catch basin drains go to a manhole structure, so you can see and access that pipe in case it gets clogged or breaks or whatever. And in your system, there's just these blind connections. So
Would we be installing manhole covers?
we would be, that's part of the cost. And that's actually, the concrete structures and drainage are actually a considerable part of the cost. New catch basins, new manhole structures.
Got it. So that explains the $900,000 in part.
Question, when we did the work on Livingston Street and Chestnut and Platt, we were able to install catch basins that were not connected to the system, were simply for infiltration. And that was, we could get rid of the water there. Is that possible on this leg of Center Street?
So we think from observation of some of those structures that they are functioning as dry wells right now, which is essentially what you have on Livingston as well. There are several instances where there are dry well structures.
But I'm asking if we repair the two that need to be repaired, which are connected to the overall system, if we then added dry wells, which are relatively inexpensive, that would reduce the flow that's going into the system and allow us to maybe keep some of that original plumbing, not having to rip up that entire.
Yeah, and I would say nominally speaking, the area that's available to infiltrate is conventionally the bottom of the structure, so whatever the diameter of your structure is, that's where infiltration is happening. You might get a little bit of sidewall infiltration, but it's not a significantly large number. I think the other thing driving the cost of the base project is that there's nearly twice the amount of drainage pipe as there is water main pipe, because we're going all the way to the Lansman Hill, so.
I'm not sure if I was clear. I was asking if we put in the dry wells, additional dry wells here,
Yeah.
so that less water is going into the piped system.
Yes.
But you don't think that would make a big difference?
I think you'd have to have a lot of dry wells to have it make it.
He did say it was nominal.
No,
Yeah.
okay, well, I need a little more clarification.
Interestingly, Rick, we looked at that concept when we looked at South Parsonage Street and going with the Green Street, where essentially you create like an infiltrative trench that would run the length of the street. You know, when we got the feedback from the state about funding that, because we thought that was sort of an innovative way to fund the streetscape project, they said they wanted to see a much bigger vision by the village. They didn't want to just do what we were calling a demonstration project. Let's demonstrate that this works and can save us on having to do expensive infrastructure. We would get beautiful street trees, plus a nice surface, plus stormwater management.
I'd like to comment on that.
Yes.
Because in several of my discussions now, that vision by the previous state administration has now been changed. And they are now focusing on realizing that smaller projects are just as good as bigger projects. And they are actually putting more attention on to smaller projects going forward and under the current administration. I've been told that emphatically. And so maybe it's time to relook at some of these things. But we have there's a paradigm shift. How about that?
That could be.
I don't know if you're noticing it, but I've been told directly by several of the commissioners up at the state level that they've been given direct orders to not look at the big ticket items that gather a lot of press, but to do things, to help smaller communities.
This is a big ticket item for us.
Yeah, well, but it's not the $10 million projects that they were bidding on before.
Yeah. When we did the debrief with the state, they said we wanted a multi-million-dollar.
They did.
project. They said we don't have the money for a
But
multi-million.
but that's, I'd like to test that
Sure, no. I
thing,
think
because
it's worth testing.
I've been told that that's out with the old, in with the new.
Maybe we could resubmit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But didn't we also recently see a grant that we thought, oh, maybe this could apply for the drainage piece?
We did. I sent that to you.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was, but we could look
Maybe I'll
that up.
follow up with you on
Yeah,
that.
please do. We've been
But-
looking, I mean, it does sound like the new federal infrastructure bill is prioritizing drainage projects, which is long, long, long overdue, because for whatever reason, water and sewer get prioritized, but drainage doesn't. And although you can spend CHIPS money on it, CHIPS money is really so important for your paving program, it's hard to give that up for drainage improvement projects.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Brandy, what I always worry about is we dig up the street and then 2 years later, we got to dig it up again.
Sure, yeah.
But yet we don't have enough money to do what we need to do.
Understood.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I think we had good luck with Chestnut, Livingston, and Platt as far as, and I know some of those seepage pits were more localized. This is sort of a terminal because I talked to the highway guys and you, and it seems like that water comes down like Mulberry. It does a right angle turn and then, so it is a terminal. So even if you got rid of some of the water from a seepage standpoint, there's some flow through.
I mean,
In spite of that, we haven't, according to the guys, we have the ponding, but I think that's more from undulations from the pavement than, the storm drain's still taking it.
I'm just worried about it as 70-year-old infrastructure, how much longer is it going to last? That's the question.
Right, it's a 10-year road, so
well, I mean, it seems like
I think we can look ahead 10 years.
the best way to do it would be the $1.7 million overall project, but if we could find a grant or something to not have to spend that much money on it, that would be great. And so if we can't find a grant to help with that, then it seems like.
When do we have to have a plan to have our ARPA money? I don't remember.
It was 2024. 2024.
That's to be shovel-ready or implemented in 20? I don't remember.
To be spent.
To be spent.
Yeah, we need to.
So we have 2 years.
I think it's like June of 2024?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I
so
remember,
we've
but
got time to make this decision.
I don't think we have a lot of time.
I think,
We don't have to make this decision tonight,
No, we don't have to do it.
is what I'm saying.
No, but I think it should be in next year's budget.
I just want to in terms of timing, so what we found this year with water main projects was that there are still supply chain issues related to being able to get ductile iron pipe, which is what your village system is made of. And I don't know if you've gotten any more recent information, Brant, but
No, it's bad from what I hear,
by
yeah.
May of this past year, all the ductile iron in our region was accounted for. And we had a pipe supplier come to us and he said, unless a supply yard had a little stock and you had a small project, or maybe your water department had a little stock, they were not going to be able to give us pipe until they thought maybe December of this year, which is beyond our construction season. So that'd be buying pipe for next season. So I think we want to get this out for bid in like February, March timeframe probably, so that you have a chance of getting pipe so that it could be constructed before the end of next year. I don't
That's for
think
the
you want
water
to wait
pipe,
until
not for the drain.
2024.
That's the water pipe.
That's just a water pipe.
And don't forget, we went out to bid once and we didn't get any. Remember, we had to do it
Yeah, we
twice?
did it.
Contractors are very,
What are the drainage pipes made out of?
they're made out of high-density polyethylene, so they're a plastic pipe. It's a little bit more readily available.
Which is really spiked in price too, plastic.
Oh, yeah, because
That's
of oil.
actually,
And that should come down.
Because of oil.
I mean,
We're
Yeah.
going to set up a reactor at
Someday.
Southlands. We'll make our own.
Oh, Christ.
All right, I think that we ought to just table this and go think about it for.
Yeah, I mean, if we could
What
sort of think about some of the grants, that would be great, and then maybe we could make a decision in the next meeting.
if you did the water main project and then a mill and overlay on the rest of the, I mean, that kind of gets you along for, like Brant said, for 10 years.
10 years.
You know, and then when you're ready to pave the next time, you really should think about the drainage hard at that point.
Right.
And maybe the sea change on funding will have shifted at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I got to say, I mean, we have to do from my point of view, we have to do the repaving and the reconstruction along Center Street here.
And the water part, I mean, like, that's very
and
clear.
definitely this water part. And I'll talk with Public Works and Water Department
And
about.
those two catch basins.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's one way or the other.
Because they failed.
But that's the 590,
Right.
so.
Okay.
Well,
Any other questions?
Well, it's
for
590
Randy?
plus 50 because of the,
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
bigger, it's
The
a
extra
more.
pavement.
yeah, the extra payment, so it's 590 plus like 50 plus.
It's
some contingency.
Contingency.
204 for the full mill and overlay patch.
Put it this way, it's less than 810 and it's more than 590.
Correct. Right.
Do you want us to give you those numbers? I mean,
We can do it.
I think we can do the math
I
on
forget
that.
that, but I think,
Yeah.
but I'm just trying to set for the board's thinking, like, that has to be a priority.
Yeah.
The water has to be a priority. It sounds like we can, at this
Yeah.
point, with the catch basins and some better grading, deprioritize the.
I mean, I was just thinking if
sewer
like,
work.
while the road is dug up, we can get the federal government to give us $900,000 for the drainage, then like,
Well, yeah.
great, you know? So, like, what would it take to figure that out?
figure which out.
The idea of like the drainage grants and.
So, I mean, you will have shovel-ready plans. We're at 60% design. I would suggest, you know, we continue with the permitting with the DOT, and if we don't put in the second pipe for the drainage, so be it. Just get the permit so that you're ready to do it, and, you know, we'll keep our eye open for funding. I know Vanessa and Gary both are, you know, keeping their eye open for finding funding, so.
I'd like to, you know, next month, I'd like to tee this up so we can make a decision, because if we
Yeah.
need to go out, we need to be out in February, March, or we're not going to get a contractor. to do
Yeah,
it.
no, I get that.
Right.
Okay,
Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brandy.
thanks, Brandy.
Vanessa, Village Hall Flex Tech Design.
All right, so this is a follow-up on the project where we had the energy study of Village Hall that gave us a whole host of different options. And then we had a workshop where we talked through which options we thought were the most, which we should prioritize.
Yeah.
And then we went back to the engineering company, which is called ME. FlexTech is the name of the nice sort of program that paid for half of that initial energy efficiency study. So ME Engineering, we went back to them and we said, okay, here's what we think should be prioritized. Can you tell us what it would take to get to a place where we could go out to bid if we were, you know, to want to have a shovel-ready project to upgrade Village Hall? And so that's kind of preliminary design work, basically, and a tighter scope. And so they came back with this proposal that's $15,000.
Holy moly.
Yeah. And so again, that's just like preliminary work to be able to go out to bid to do the project. And it, just to remind you that what we discussed was that very flexible air source heat pump system.
Right.
For more efficient heating and cooling.
Right, and then sealing up the building.
And then sealing up, the roof, the ceiling. We did not want to go for furring in the walls.
Right.
To create more insulation.
Yeah.
But this would be closing up all of the holes in the walls for AC units.
Right.
That are put in windows and walls and stuff like that. So, just want to bring this up for discussion. This would, this obviously would be a good investment. This would be a good project to do prior to the furnace crapping out and having to make a panic move.
Right.
So.
But just remember, this is for the design, this is not construction costs.
Yeah, no, I
Right.
get that.
Yeah, I'm getting sticker shock here.
It was more than I thought it would be.
Yeah, is there anyone else who could do it for less?
Might be sitting here. I don't know.
I mean, I know the thought insulating the ceilings and insulating downstairs ceiling,
And upgrading
but
our,
to change to the heat pump zone stuff everywhere is going to be exorbitant.
And I'm going to say, I'm a little, under services not included, identification of hazardous materials, asbestos and lead. And we've
well,
already-
isn't that what we ran into over here?
Correct.
We have
Yeah.
identified it.
Yeah, correct. So that, and that turned into, so it's silly, I couldn't imagine going forward without getting a much better asbestos handle on it, because it drove the costs of the lift
Yeah, through
out
the
of
roof.
control.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have to get that as part of any project.
Well, do you think they would have to disturb a lot of that?
Well, so the project would be mostly coming in through the walls, not so much like through the floor. The tile, as I understand it, is the problem,
Yeah.
right?
The mastic,
Yeah,
not the tile, but.
the glue, whatever.
Is that right? Was it
And
glue?
it was the glue and.
The
it
glue
was-
underneath the tile?
It was the glue and on our heating pipes that were within X amount of feet.
Yeah.
I don't know
So-
I don't remember what this is, but if you're doing a project and you're within so many feet of a asbestos covering, that's also considered disturbance, so.
So we would
We
just
ran
leave
into
those
that.
pipes
Yeah.
where they are and,
They would just,
Well, but if you're doing a project, you still had to, even though we weren't touching those pipes before.
right, we still need to know where they
They
are.
still had to do the mitigation as a result of it, so. And a lot of it is, when I said, we're not tearing up the floor, we're coming in through the walls, so.
Yeah.
But is there a risk? Yeah, I think there's still a risk.
So, I mean, like, my thoughts on this is that we're going to need to do something with Village Hall at some point. I mean, it is our emergency heating, it's our emergency cooling. It can barely handle its own heating and cooling, regardless of being an emergency. And so, I know that the cobbler's children never have shoes, but at some point, this building does need to be upgraded. And especially if we have another pandemic and we need to have better ventilation systems and all the rest of it. That being said, if, we sort of hadn't kind of promised ARPA funds to Center Street, I would say take $15,000 from ARPA funds, make this actually a better scope that includes the asbestos question, and spend it on this, because we need to have this is going to have to happen at some point. And right now I know that we're prioritizing emergencies basically, but, this is something that we're going to have to think about sometime in the next 5 years. And
Well,
you know, I know that Center Street is something we have to think about yesterday, but like,
In the grand scheme of things, 15 grand is not that much.
exactly.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is that like, especially when it comes for Center Street, you know, anywhere from 590,000 to 1.7 million, $15,000 is a drop in that bucket. For this, we were thinking something like $200,000 for the village hall improvements. $15,000 is more of that, but
Are you suggesting that we take some of our?
I'm suggesting that we take some of ARPA funds and put it towards this. I mean, this may not be the best scope because, as you've mentioned, there's the asbestos concern, and so we might want to amend the scope a little bit, but, I mean, we have the ARPA funds. This is what ARPA was meant for. And, you know, I know that we all have ideas on how we want to spend ARPA, and we can only spend it once. But
I kind of like that idea, to be honest with you.
Just to get us one step
Just get us
forward
one
on
step
this.
further, and if we shelve it for a year or two, then we shelve it for a year or two, but at least we know. I mean, our boiler's gonna crap out, the air conditioning barely works.
Well, the boiler, I mean, that's a simple thing.
Right, like-
Boiler craps out, we can put another boiler in there, and the emissions will be half of what it is today. I mean, and we'll pay the thing on, there's a 4-year payback on the amount of oil we're gonna save, probably, something like that.
Yeah, but in
I
a
know
world,
that's not the-
in a world where we have the roof covered with solar panels, you know, I mean, replacing a bad oil boiler with a better oil boiler is still not, you know, I wouldn't want to replace our boiler with another oil sourced.
And this gets us a
You know.
design, this gets us to the design.
Yeah,
At least then we can at least go out for bid with, right? We
yeah,
could go
or
out for
like,
bid
or
with
like
the
we could go
design,
out to bid
right,
in
Randy?
2023, like,
I'm not
You
familiar with
all right,
RFPs.
yeah.
that's okay. I mean, like, we could go out to bid in 2023 or 2024, but at least like we have a design and, you know, the equipment's going to continue to improve and ideally the, you know, costs will come down at some point, hopefully. But I don't know. I mean, I think neglecting Village Hall, and I'm not saying that other projects aren't as or more important, but I think that neglecting Village Hall is going to end up being a mistake. Because then we're just going to have to fix a bunch of this stuff in an emergency. And that's never cost efficient or,
No.
you know.
Are we locked into ME because of the nature of the grant and the NYSERDA grant?
I think at this point, we're not locked in for them. This is their proposal to continue working with us.
Okay.
Maybe we could,
And they were local, they're here on East Market Street. You know,
Okay.
so they're
Well,
a
they're
local
working
company.
with they're not a local company.
Oh, I thought they were.
No, ME Engineering, they have an office in Rochester and Buffalo. They brought in the architect to partner with that is local, Rhinebeck
Okay.
Architecture.
And I would, investigate the scope of existing lighting. That'd be the third time that we will have done this. We can strike that from their proposal. There's some stuff in here. I mean, it's a small item, but we don't
I
know.
mean, like, maybe we can tighten up the proposal and, you know,
Should we put it out for an RFP though?
yeah,
Since it's 15 grand
I think we need to. I mean, yeah.
in our policy.
Okay. Why don't we try to develop an RFP based upon
This.
this and then put it out?
That's a great idea.
Yeah,
All right.
okay. Cool.
So you make a motion, I'll second it.
I make a motion that, that the village board develops an RFP for engineering services that will allow us to go out to bid for improvements, HVAC and insulation improvements to Village Hall.
Second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to say nay, just because I think it's going to be a runaway.
We're going out for an RFP.
That's right, it's okay.
I know what it is, yeah.
Well, but we can do that anytime. We have the summer, the conclusions.
Okay. Grants. ecological restoration.
Oh, yeah, so this is the ecological restoration grant. This is one of the grants I applied for the compost facility.
And this one was for how much?
This is for $100,000.
I'm just trying to
Yeah,
get everybody,
Yeah, thanks.
so they know, okay? And we expect to get it,
We expect to
Expect
hear.
We would find out
Here.
in January.
right.
Yeah, we'll see.
This is the one that you wrote?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did 2 grants. This is from a private foundation. The other grant that I applied for with Time Bond's help was a DEC grant for municipal compost facilities. That one was for $200,000. So,
And that's the third one on this list.
right. So the idea is you go up for a DEC grant, you're required to match, right? So applying for the foundation grant would help with our match.
Well, it was really well done.
So the project, remember, was
The one that was on the
311,
agenda tonight, I don't.
the project was 311,000,
Right.
so this gets us really close.
Grant and grant.
Right,
Good.
okay.
Yep.
When are we going to find out about DEC?
The DEC grant is more of like a rolling deadline.
Oh, that's right.
They
Yep.
told me, I went to, when they had those like Zoom workshop sessions where they explained the grant, and they said that they're really trying to move fast. Normally with DEC grants, you don't hear back for 6 months or something, but this, they're really trying to follow up within a month or 2 and let you know.
Oh,
So,
year end.
yeah, so hopefully we would know this winter.
Okay, thank you.
So
And
these
the-
are all applied for.
Yeah, submitted.
Yes.
Submitted, I'll submit, okay.
Right. And the other one we have is the Autism Supportive Committee submitted to Thomas Thompson Trust for a grant for $50,000. Just to remind everybody, Thomas Thompson Trust has been funding the Autism Support Committee for the last 4 years, in addition to the funding that the committee has raised, which last time was a matching grant of $10,000 plus a match of $10,000, which the committee raised. So this $50,000 is kind of an all-in and inclusive grant with no portion to be applied to village, there's no village expense associated with this. It's to basically continue the mission of the autism support, and it really breaks it down into kind of 5 areas. The first one is to continue the collaboration with Anderson Center. We depend on them for technical support. The previous grants also paid for their support. This is a 2-year grant, not a 1-year grant, 2 years. So for Anderson Center, the request is included in that $50,000 is $16,875 for their continuing support. There's also $10,000 in the grant to engage a company called Data Storage, which is new to Rhinebeck. And they do basically a marketing strategy. So their plan, which they developed a proposal for us, is to come out with a playbook. And then to also then evaluate that playbook, so give the committee a very long-term look on how to start advancing and continuing the growth of the Autism Support Committee through that playbook. The third is a partnership with the Rhinebeck Lions Club on the mini park. So the mini park, as you all are aware, the Lions Club has been managing the equipment and is currently in a fund drive to raise $75,000 to purchase new equipment in that park in over a 3 to 5 year period. And they're going to stage that based on their funding. What we would like to do is partner with them to work on the design, so the design is an inclusive design that encompasses for all disabilities in the purchase and in the design part of that equipment, to make the village of that park, the mini park, which is on village land, managed by the Lions Club, an inclusive park for everybody to maintain. So we met with the Lions Club. They are enthusiastic about wanting to partner with the Autism Support Committee to be able to ask, to work on that design and create that inclusiveness. We've been in contact with the vendor, which they're working with, to ask them if they can do inclusive designs, and they said yes. But, again, it depends on 2 things. One, us being able to partner with them to be able to give those money and get the design done so that they can go out for bid and then hopefully raise continuation money. But we would like to make it an inclusive park for all disabilities in the village center. And the last was for $5,000. We've been holding events all along for autism awareness. We want to continue doing those events, but we're thinking about branching out now in terms of still having informational events, but host a movie day. And we've been in contact with Upstate Films and the library to do events at both those facilities to create a sensory-safe environment for kids to come to and enjoy a movie, or to go to the library where the lights are down, the music is soft, and to enjoy music entertainment at the library, and to market that, promote that, $5,000. So that adds up to $50,000. There's still a commitment that we would like to do to raise an additional $2,000 to help fund this effort. Again, there's no impact on village municipality for doing this. It's really to continue what the Autism Support Committee has been doing all along right now to support inclusiveness within the village of Rhinebeck. Our goal is to get more businesses involved. We're at 58%, but over the course of the pandemic, some of those businesses have come, new businesses come in, so we need to do another drive to do what we call #OneThing. But ultimately, our goal is to work with the businesses to give them training on inclusiveness for autism, but also get them trained so that they can hire people that are also on the spectrum. That number has changed over the last 4 years from 1 in 59 to 1 in 44. So there's a market of available people that are really great to be able to work in the village of Rhinebeck and could do a fantastic job at whether it's retail or restaurants or whatever. So we're continuing. We've made great progress. You saw the report 2 months ago over year end. And you got to see what we're doing. So now we're asking Thomas Thompson Trust to fund us. And we met with them the Friday before the deadline of this, presented our program. They were extremely enthusiastic about what we've done and what we've accomplished and where we're going. But we'll wait to see. So we submitted this grant asking for $50,000. Any questions?
When do you hear back?
Good. Hopefully by year end. That's our goal.
So Gary, I have a question. Is the grant, is it administered from the village?
Yes. Good question. Thank you. And previously, all these grants were administered by Anderson. We are taking over that responsibility in terms of we would get the money here at the village and then we would pay that out.
Okay. You just
Good. I thank you for bringing that up.
procurement and all of
Yep.
that? Okay.
Good question. Okay, going to move on. Purchase requests. Karen, can you do the laserfish, or do you want me to?
I can. I did it a little backwards because I asked for the budget
Right.
amendment earlier.
I know.
So the $4,400 is for the training for the program and the training for the planning and zoning clerks and secretary. And I think one of them is going to be in person, and then there's like 1,500 that's follow-up for online training for them. So I think the plan was to get the planning, building, and zoning up and going first, and then they will in turn work with Martina and then myself for the financial records. But I think the thought was to get them started first and to integrate it with Unicity, which right now they're kind of standalone. So this Avante system also is going to integrate it with Unicity.
But the quantity of two there is 2 people.
Correct.
And the 2 people, one is Miranda, on building, planning, and zoning, and the second is Martina, all right? Because there's really 2 functions as,
Oh, it's not Ryan?
what?
It's not Ryan? and Mark?
No, it's
Oh, okay.
Martina,
Okay.
yes. Because there's two functions that need to be, One is building, planning, and zoning, and the other is our government business as well. It's kind of, that's what we discussed when we were discussing it, but,
Thought we were going to do the planning, building, and zoning first.
well, I don't, then how do we get, well, I don't know, my
That's also what I
thought,
thought. I've not heard of this.
well, I'm giving you my thought on it then.
Okay.
My thought on it is that there's two government functions. One is building, planning, and zoning, and one is the running village government and scanning our minutes and everything else involved with running and making sure Martina can do all the Laserfish as
Right, but
well.
I think this particular one is integrating it with the municity
Just municity.
and our parcel access.
Okay, then I stand corrected because
Yeah, I think the goal was to start with building, planning, and zoning.
I agree with that.
Yeah, and then, I don't know, in the spring or whatever, but,
But then do we have to pay more to get Martina trained then?
well, it's $2,200 per person.
Per person?
Yeah.
Right. And you don't think Miranda can cover for
Why
building, planning, and zoning?
why don't I have a conversation with,
All right, why don't you guys decide?
yeah, why don't, I'll talk to Ken and the team about this on Thursday. How about that?
Could you authorize the training for the $4,400 pending the board's
Who-
decision
yeah,
on
for
who's
two.
going to attend?
Who it is?
Yeah,
Because they already have it scheduled for
yeah, I think
November.
2 people no matter what,
Right.
given what it is. Do all of you know what Laserfish is?
No.
Oh, it's like cloud storage for government documents. So it's basically a way for us to digitize kind of everything.
Isn't that how stuff gets into Eco 360?
No.
No.
Oh, sorry.
So like,
It's in addition to eco.
yeah, and so like everything that's in the basement,
So
you know,
I'm familiar with a lot of the stuff that's in the basement. Would someone actually go down there and, like, you'll take drawings from so-and-so address on Knollwood and every page?
yeah, I mean, so this is what actually we've been doing for the last 6 months or so, is organizing all of the paper in the building, planning, and zoning department. We haven't gone into the basement yet. We're not going to keep them forever, but because, something came up last year with their CVS Pocket Park, and wouldn't have been great to see what their site plan, their approved site plan from the planning board from 2000 and whatever was. And, I don't know if we ever found it.
Well, I think a lot of, don't they just go back, like, I know with deed.
Yeah, I mean, we're
you go back- you-
we're starting with current, and we're,
Yeah, you figure out a date.
Yeah,
so
I
it's-
mean, we're not going to go back forever, but for certain parcels that are important, we're going to try and capture them. But for the moment, this is literally just trying to get the current stuff digitized and moving forward. And then, as we get caught up with all of that, which is a great deal of work, then we'll have a conversation about what to do in the basement.
And this is what,
So, Brad, think about it. The way the structure would be is parcel access and a property number, so everything would be assigned.
Inside the property number.
Inside that property number in the cloud. And then
And whether it's
everything
like a-
related to that parcel gets stored underneath that.
Yeah,
So
whether it's
when
a site plan or a building permit.
Whatever you want to look
or-
up will all be available.
and who's going to be the fiche person?
Well, right now, what we're proposing is
Building, planning, and
Miranda
zoning,
for
it's
building, planning, and
Miranda.
zoning.
Miranda.
And possibly Ryan, but I want to have the discussion whether
Yeah.
it's, Miranda can do it, and we can also do another offset
Wow.
and do
Yeah,
It's a lot
the
of,
other. Yeah, it's a lot of work.
it's a lot of work.
And we've invested in Laserfish for years and not been able to capitalize on it. We actually have a machine down there to do it that has never been used, all right? So we've made a capital investment already as the village's repository for using Laserfish.
Yeah.
This is used by many municipalities as a way of documenting building, planning, and zoning, a water bill, a wastewater bill,
Right.
a permit. Everything gets attached to that parcel, and you can go look it up.
Yeah. I mean, once it's up and running, it's pretty cool.
well, I'm sure.
Yeah, but it's going to take a minute to get there.
Or two.
Yeah.
Whether we'll ever replace what we have in storage, I don't know, but it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah. We've organized all sorts of stuff from Ryan's office.
All right. So this is approved pending, we're going to have a discussion on who.
Do we need to approve this?
Yeah, I want to approve it pending,
Yeah. the discussion on
pending our discussion on
I motion that we approve the $4,400 for training for two people, the two people to be determined.
Second.
And they'll do any number, they'll do however many people you want there.
Yeah, well, we'll start
I
with two.
mean, should we just bite the bullet and do 3?
Well, you guys can determine that.
Let's
Start with two.
start with two.
Okay.
Because I have a feeling it'll end up being whatever. It's
Unless you
fine.
got
Yeah,
spare $2,200 in your pocket.
yeah.
Nope, guess not. All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay.
All right, wastewater mixer. The wastewater mixer.
Oh, the mixer in the sludge tank, which is the sludge holding tank, is down. So they did, I don't know if they figured out somehow how to do an emergency workaround for now, but we need a new mixer pump. And that's the proposal, the Flight SR 4630 mixer. Brian wants to go with the more expensive option. There's two prices here, but only one mixer to buy, so that would be the $17,298 mixer, because it's got more stainless, which is anti-corrosive with all that acidic stuff that's in the waste.
Oh, it's 403 versus 316.
What's that?
It's the quality of the stainless is 403 is softer than 316.
Wow, that's pretty good.
There you go.
Thanks.
SSD, yeah.
So that's one thing. The other thing is an influent pump at the hospital. Here, let me take this. There's one of them, there's two, and one of them's down. So our backup would be that we have 5 for the plant, and if the only hospital one that's remaining goes down, we pull one of ours and bring it over there as a stopgap until we can get a new influent pump.
Wait, the hospital has,
They're down to one.
sorry,
There's a lift station at the hospital.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we have like 4 lift
But it's
stations.
our lift station.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but, okay.
And we
got it.
use the same influent pumps at the lift stations that we do at our plant.
Well, that makes sense,
So this is $9,490.
to just
So
replace
what
one.
you're saying is we're out of spares.
Yeah. But we would take these and get a price on getting these rebuilt, the ones we're pulling out. So then we have a spare,
Got
a
it.
used rebuilt one. But I'll bring those prices in later.
Okay.
So I would like to get a motion to approve, to do the flight mixer pump for $17,298, and then the sewage pump for $94.90.
Out of what, like wastewater capital or something?
Oh, we budgeted for the influent pump,
Okay.
according to Brian. Karen, that's half a question too. So
Do you want to, after this resolution, do you want to authorize it to come from the capital sewer for the 17,000?
yeah,
Since you
that's
already,
just the surprise one,
since you budgeted the other one, that was fine.
yeah.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Can we just add a combined motion?
Sure, yeah, good.
And then have the 17,000 come out of the capital? Yeah,
Yeah.
How am I writing that?
I'll second that.
How am I writing it?
To authorize the wastewater mixer for 17,200
From,
from
capital.
capital sewer. And then the other one from the
Any discussion? While we're working on it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Special holiday tree lighting. Let me get back to that. No, I can have it here. This is our traditional holiday tree lighting, quote, fake parade. But it's not really a fake parade. It will be an event held here at, in the village with Santa arriving to come and greet the kids, and it will be held at November 19th. The plan this year is to have the annual holiday tree lighting with a parade and Santa. The parade will be a couple fire trucks that will pick Santa up here at Village Hall after he arrives on his sleigh, and he'll go down Center Street, go down Livingston Street, make the corner and come back up and drop him off at the municipal parking lot. So we would be closing the municipal parking lot at 2 p.m. that day for this event. because the Rotary wants to act, the Interact kids and everybody else do traditionally what was done at the Rhinebeck Savings Bank, now here at the municipal lot, all right? Again, in the tree, the holiday tree, the lighted tree would be in the green space out here and not at the Rhinebeck Savings Bank. So everything would end here at our municipal lot with the tree lighting, Santa arriving on a sleigh with a couple fire trucks on the 19th, and the event will start at 3 o'clock and end by 6:30, and tear down will be at 7:30.
Safe space.
What?
Safe space. I don't see any part of autism safe space.
So, good point.
This is the old
And that was
application.
supposed to be on his application, where the village hall is going to be used as the autism sensory safe space. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Because we went through all of this to get that in
We
there.
had a discussion, but, right.
Okay.
So it'd be right here at these windows if we could.
I think we need to make sure that we're having people fill out the right application.
Yes, and that, we did send her the other one, and I apologize for not following up.
It's okay. It'd be nice if we could get rid of all copies of the old one, but.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve the holiday tree lighting sponsored by the Rhinebeck Rotary for November 19th, which is a Saturday, starting at 3 and ending at 6, and here in our municipal parking lot.
Second.
Okay. Discussion.
Is M&T Bank, is the bank going to have another?
No.
Okay, so this is it?
We used to put the tree there. The
Yeah.
tree will now be here.
Okay. Why are we moving it?
Well, there's been discussion over several years about
Okay.
closing off the bank lot, cutting down their commerce, taking away all that parking, and as well as doing our parking here. And the bank has been very gracious. Rhinebeck Bank has been extremely gracious for many years, but it's also a liability on them that they would like to not have to incur.
Okay.
Okay?
I'm kind of bummed it's happening before Thanksgiving, but I'll swallow that.
Well, and the reason for that, just good question, is because there's so many events, which Cinder Claus is following 2 weeks later, so there's a lot of work that needs to be done by not our police force, but our highway department and everything else to get it done. So it's all about timing, and everybody wants it ready by Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Very good. We will let them know.
So the next one, the Light the Village Pink, this is just a notification from New Vance Health. They're allowed to, in our code, we're allowed to have temporary signs. But the building planning and zoning, the zoning enforcement officer is beginning the process of cracking down on illegal signs. Not beginning, he's been doing it, but it's been a bit of a uphill battle. So New Vance called the building planning and zoning department and said, we'd like to put up some temporary signs. They're not lawn signs, they're not on public property, they're only on the hospital property, as well as a few sort of local businesses of Light the Village Pink. And so I just said, send us a letter and I will let the village board know, and that way we all know that this temporary sign has been signed off by the zoning enforcement officer. So that's what this is about. They're requesting to put up temporary signs during the month of October in connection with their Light the Village Pink for Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
I second it. Any questions, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So done. You're going to let Justin know?
Yeah, I'll let Justin know.
He'll get back in touch. All right, minutes approval for 8:30. Do one at a time. There's an exchange happening back and forth in terms of minutes with some recommendations. I don't know if they were on the 8:30. I lost track of them all.
They were not on the 8:30.
Pardon?
They were not on the 8:30. There's recommendations for.
That was for the next one? Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes for 8:30:22. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye. All right, minutes for 9:20:22.
Second, as long as they include my comments.
I agree. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Very good. Okay. Committees. Is there anything you want to say about the tree commission?
There were no applications for removals or pruning this month. I do want to say that the commission has been working hard to get ready for the volunteer planting, which is going to take place on the 29th of this month. We've divvied up volunteers into groups that all will have trees assigned to them, and the work is getting done. It's been a lot to put together, and it's all coming together. So thank you all for your support.
Great.
Climate Smart.
I just wanted to say that I'll be tabling at the Thriving in Rhinebeck event on October 22nd in the morning at the high school. And looking forward to that. And I also wanted to thank everyone for coming out for Climate Week. That was September 18th through the 25th. It went really well. We really enjoyed the events that we put on. And if anybody has noticed the temporary crosswalk, which is now very much fading at the intersection of South and Parsonage, if you enjoyed that project or didn't, please give us your feedback. There is a sign at the intersection with a link to give your feedback, or you can also find it on climatesmartrhinebeck.org. That's it.
Do you want us to keep the signs up there for a while longer? Or take them down?
Let's discuss.
Okay.
Maybe we can discuss offline with Kyle
Okay.
about how to wind down that project.
All right. Okay. Lydia, anything you want to say about the comprehensive plan that you haven't said?
Just a reminder that tomorrow evening, the three subcommittees that did not go a week ago are going to be presenting to the public the work that they've done. That's at the Star Library starting at 6 p.m. We've also applied for a grant, a CFA Smart Growth grant. We should hear from that by December, hopefully. The next Comprehensive Plan Committee main meeting is Thursday at 7 p.m. here. The Comprehensive Plan Committee is also going to be at the Thriving in Rhinebeck event on the 22nd. We're going to be helping people and encouraging them to fill out the survey, which hopefully will be approved by the Comprehensive Plan Committee on Thursday. It's in beta testing at the moment with SurveyMonkey, so we're all playing around with it right now. Other than that, all of the meeting minutes and agendas are on the webpage on the Village of Rhinebeck website.
Lydia, did you resolve the question of whether the survey was going to be anonymous or?
Yeah, it is. There was a long discussion about that with some survey experts, and you lose more participation by figuring out a way, by asking people for personal information beyond just, age, and by asking people for identifying information. You lose more people from filling it out than the opposite problem, which is potential duplication happens on the other side. And so, as with everything, the Comprehensive Plan Committee is veering on the side of over-participation rather under-participation. So that was the decision there. They did go with SurveyMonkey instead of a different survey company because SurveyMonkey has technology inside it that helps prevent duplicate responses, IP addresses and whatnot that it just does automatically. But no, we're not asking people for any kind of identifying information like name or address or email address or anything like that. We are asking for demographic information. It's entirely voluntary whether or not they choose to give it.
And whether they live in the village or?
That's not voluntary. Their association with the village, they do have to fill that out. And the options there are live in the village, work in the village, live in the town, work in the town, pass through the village. I don't even remember all the options.
Yeah,
visit the village, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
There will be, it's great that there will be a way to sort.
Yeah, and we're encouraging people to fill out demographic information just because it's going to help us to figure out if, all women who are 53 years old who've lived in the village for 10 years feel a certain way, what I mean? But we're not requiring that either, so. Yep.
Thank you. Okay, personnel, I'd like to make a motion to approve vacation buyout requests. We have two, one for employee number 11, one for employee number 13, both requesting 70 hours. These have been reviewed by our treasurer to know that they do have those hours available, and the money's there to do that. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Rick. Questions, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we have an anniversary. An MEO, Dante Knox, who's currently on leave due to injuries, but he's now been with us 3 years. So Dante, we're looking forward to having you back as soon as possible to join our highway crew. But congratulations on your contribution for 3 years to the village of Rhinebeck. And I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. And again, a very long meeting, but hopefully if we get in a cycle to go through this information, it will move along quicker now that we've kind of done a summary review of a lot of stuff. So thank you all for paying attention and listening, and have a good evening.